I went looking for trouble. Boy, did I find it. Victor had this crazy idea, and I'm all about it. We got 2 donor cars completely stripped down. This project is a blank slate. Victor called me over to his office. I was shocked when I walked in. I guess Victor is taking us to the next level. His whole office appears to be covered in little pinups of all these different supercars, and I walk in and his hands are going everywhere, you know. I want some of this, I want some of that, going on and on. He's definitely a passionate man.
I'm looking at all the literature, the internet, anything that had to do with supercar, and I'm taking pictures and pinning them up in my office. Ian can't draw, I can't draw. I'm good at drawing stick men, you know, that's where my limitation is. But my nephew Vinny, he's a graphic designer, and he could take our thoughts and put it on the paper so we have somewhere to start. So I want it to kind of look like this, 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 and this.
I just can't wrap my mind around how we're gonna take a Sterling and a Porsche to make you a supercar. So I just need to know, what exactly off a supercar did you want?
I just need you to transfer my thoughts or whatever I tell you into paper. I'm gonna take a piece of this car, a piece of that car, the headlight of this car, the tail end.
I've been through this before. You know, Victor likes to come into the shop, throw out a bunch of ideas, and just leave, you know, and I come up with something.
I got the ideas, I just can't put it in writing.
He works well with his nephew also, just a totally different style in this part of the project. He's all about the ideas, you know, he's the guy who says, I want this, and then he changes it 500 times.
We're looking at this. I like the front end, the vents here, but then I like the way this flows in the front.
Vince is trying to respond to that, and I'm just kind of watching the show.
I don't know, there's another little element I thought could go in there. Let me see. I just see something, okay, just to here. I know how to color too. If you really look at them all, they all have one thing in common. They're like sleek, low, and mean looking.
Yeah.
Now what about the wheelbase?
Well, we're stuck on that because we can't change the size of the driver's compartment or the wheelbase. This car is going to be kind of an arch. You're gonna have to provide a little more room for the drivers than you would see in a concept car, because we want the safety structure and the dashboard that exists. This is really proportionally what we're doing. It's short wheelbase, high arching roofline, and not such an elongated nose.
It's a good start. I like what he did in the back, the van. This here is pretty much our silhouette. It will change.
The thing is, it kind of looks like something somebody's already creative. We're taking all these ideas around the table and off the wall, but we need to take that and figure out what's gonna make it our own. As it turns out, this whole thing with the artist rendering and whatnot has really just been a great conversation point. You know, it's helped us just hash out a bunch of ideas, find out a better course of action. Probably what we're gonna end up doing is the same thing we've always done, do it real time on the car, but this has really been a good board meeting, so now we have a better direction.
Is this enough rendering to get you started on the build?
Oh yeah, I think that's a great start. The whole thing is, I think it's gonna take a major turn in design once we get started in the garage.
The sketch is not the car we're gonna build, but it has the silhouette, you could say, of a start of a car. So Ian says, hey, let's just design it as we go. And he's right. We're gonna do what we do. We're gonna design this car as we go.
We've already cut apart 2 cars just to get to this discussion. I think enough chit-chat about this whole project. It's time to get busy. We decided we're gonna build this whole car around the roof. I gotta get this thing into position and then decide what we're gonna do. The dictating factor is gonna be how low I can get this in the dashboard section. If we gotta raise the back up a little bit, so be it. But you can see the back's real low. If I can get the front even closer, then we're where we wanna be. The whole thing is trial and error. So fit up the roof, see where it's hitting, cut that back again, back and forth. run out of Porsche to cut. We've got to go forward. That's it. Just gonna roll that edge down. That way it stays real strong in there. If Dr. Porsche could see me now, I'd be his #1 son. Better every time, baby. The thing that I'm really struggling with is I love the height of the back right here. This proportion to me is dynamite. But the whole roof itself is kind of tilting up because of the dashboard issue. The easy remedy would be to raise the back, make it symmetrical with the rocker panels, parallel. I just don't think that's gonna be the right look. I'll raise up the back a little bit. So now what you're seeing is these are fairly parallel. My whole issue is if the roof itself was about 2 inches lower, I'd be a happy camper. We just can't drop the front anymore. The dashboard is here. That's it. We're maxed out on our ability to lower from this point. Kind of reached the point where I don't want to lower it anymore. It seems like it's in proportion, but without some other elements in place, I'm not gonna know if it's right. Just trying to come up with the solution. You know, right now I'm just looking at a roof on a chassis. Wonder if I shouldn't just mock those fenders on here. Maybe if I put the fenders on, it won't look so high up. Might just cut that car apart and just get some representation of a fender height. Stepping back and looking at it, the roof seems to be in proportion, but there's nothing else representing the body of the car there, so without some fender lines or anything else, it's a little hard to judge. There are envisioning tools everywhere. You just need to know where to see them. And look, there's 4 of them right there. Let's go. The fact that this belt line on the Sterling is kind of matching up with the Boxster stuff, I'm thinking maybe some other panels will help out too. So with this envisioning tool, you'll see all that framework was messing up the vibe. Aha. Supercar, baby. That's what this was missing. Now all of a sudden the roof is way down. This is by no means what we're building. It's just another representation for discussion. This is the same effort that we did the other day with Vince in the illustration room. This is my kind of discussion on styling and what's possible because we have all the real world parameters in front of us. So there's a lot going on here and I'm really digging it. I think my favorite part is the rear portion, most specifically the height in here. I know we're gonna have a big hollow in there and really at this point, the whole rear end is just pure potential. Got your hips coming in, trough to see the engine, whatever back window there's gonna be. But looking at it here, you see the roof? You know, it's got kind of that pyramid shape where it's coming up into the roof height. Doesn't look too flat, doesn't look too tall. These are just representations of proportions, parameters, surface heights. The look of everything's gonna get changed. One thing I notice about supercars is that they are ultimately low profile. Looking at this thing, the proportions are a bit off. It's critical that the stance is right on the money, especially from the starting point. I gotta lower this thing. A lot of times when I build a lowered car, I'll just bottom it out, create the body around it, and then raise it up. I think we're gonna do the same thing here. Victor and I already discussed, he's going for a whole suspension upgrade. I don't wanna disassemble anything, so I'm just gonna cut the springs out of this and drop it. Oh yes, and again, when you can't get the floor jack out, you're just right. At this stage, I've mocked up a lot, but that doesn't even begin to tell the story of how the car is gonna flesh out. What we've represented is a series of panels, ride height, anything goes from here.
Hey Ian, how you doing, man?
Hey man, we got a sports car, check it out.
Wow, my top, man, you got it down.
I got it to fit. Check out how it works with the dashboard, man. Like
wow,
it belongs there.
I mean, factory fit.
See, if you look inside, all your points for your hinges, they all go right inside that vent.
Oh man,
So you're set.
the mechanism will work the same.
We'll just upgrade it
You
so
don't
it
even
doesn't
have
shake.
to engineer it.
Yeah, exactly. The look of everything is going to get changed. It's not going to be this car. These are just good examples of what we can work with.
How did you get this thing so low? That's what my question is.
Sort of like the windshield on the Porsche. I had to get a little caveman on it, and I just cut your springs out.
I told Ian, hey, I'm gonna change the suspension. You know me, everything I got, low profile. I didn't expect this guy to come in and just cut everything off.
But just like with the other lowered cars we did, you know, we'll build it down low, get those tire and fender lines connecting, and then when it raises up, they'll look right.
This always happens. He just starts tearing stuff apart, man. I mean, this guy's out of control sometimes. But it looks darn good.
Just staring at this thing as a chassis, you know, and a roof looked weird. Now we have some bulk surrounding it, and we can build whatever shapes we like. You know, we'll just use these as tools, templates to work off of.
Well, I got a surprise for you.
Yeah, probably another car, right?
No more car, 2 car per build. That's my limit. Hang on, I'll be right back. Check this out.
Holy moly.
I took them from my kid's project.
Oh, right, he's all about the big diameter rims.
Yeah, they're on my kid's car in the other shop, so don't scratch them. He don't know I took them off. He just got these things.
Yeah, he's always going to the Dub show. They're 24-inch rims.
Yeah, 24 by 12.
And look at the freaking low-profile tires, man. That's wild. I mean, this is what a sports car would have. Super flat track with wide, big diameter rims. This is what keeps our arrangement spicy. Victor comes in with the crazy stuff. We try it out. If it works, it sticks. If not, we get rid of it.
Let me go grab the front one so you could check that out too.
Yeah, man.
I'll be right
Put
back.
these things on.
I guess they're a little bit smaller. They're only 22s.
Only 22s, perfect.
But hopefully these will fit on or this is gonna be close.
Oh, I see. Yeah, but you'll have that rake, just like, you know, hot rod stuff. Big and little. Big in the back, smaller in the front. What the heck? Let's put them on and see how it looks. Totally different attitude. Well, you used up all your clearance, man. Can't get no more than that. That's the thing about the taller tires, man. It's just way more aggressive. Totally cool.
It's almost like putting a suit on a car. It just brings out the spark. It's a little bit too blingy maybe for this car, but it gives it the stance. Look at it's wide. Wow.
Just make it look more aggressive, you know, big and little tires. Just give it that down, nose down stance.
Clearance is perfect. We take this radius all the way to this point to the ground. Remember, we're gonna be on the ground.
Yeah, I get you.
Now with some type of air suspension.
Good call on the big diameter rims, man. I wasn't know what to expect when you walked in the door, but they work. In the end, who knows? Probably change the wheels out. You know, the tire size and diameter looks great. You know, the rim is simply a style choice. Those stock Porsche set is not gonna happen. That's the difference between soccer mom and superhero right there. You're all about it. Victor and I are committing to the size and diameter of the wheels and tires. I'm not 100% sure about the styling. One thing I know is they're expensive. I'm gonna cover them up and work around it. Victor loved the placement of the roof, how it came down to the dashboard, so this flange goes with it. It's what the weather strip attaches to. It's probably gonna stay in the car, even though we're gonna modify it through the door jamb area. We're trying to build this car around the roof. So it's all about connecting it to the Porsche so we can work around it. My goal is to just get this thing fastened in place, functioning manually. Ed Ross said it, big mess, big success, so it's gotta get really bad before it gets any better. I'm gonna do 4 risers, just because there's 4 bolts. These are probably gonna come out, but this will represent the rear wall of the cab ultimately. So that back is pretty secure. It's not gonna change shape. I'm gonna set those hinges in, weld them on. The thing is, I took this section out of the Sterling complete, the whole thing with the hinge mounts, etc. The idea is it's in perfect alignment. We might change the hinges in the end, But ultimately, this roof shape will be the core. It'll be under whatever we create. Aha! It works. All right. To the bat cave. Perfect. For me, this is where it's at. Now we have a bunch of stuff on a car. It's time to get busy. Fits like a glove. Now that the roof is on, we are set to make a complete custom body. With all the concepts Victor's talking about, I think fiberglass is going to be the perfect medium to build this entire body out of. It's going to be a new challenge, but I think I know the guy who can point us in the right direction. My friend Jean Winfield holds an annual car show. I figured that would be a perfect time to come out, see the man, and maybe talk a little. Victor met me out here, and we're gonna do some investigating. This one's under construction, man, a bubble top. It's good to see them when they're all gutted open like this. You can see, you know, they used a floor pan from something, and they're building their own body on it. I mean, you could just fiberglass over this or sheet it with aluminum or something. I'm not sure what their plan is, but whoever built this body knows what they're doing. This might be Jean's car. You can see by the way this is put together, it's totally pro work. This thing is like fully freaking streamlined. That's the whole thing with the versatility of the fiberglass is like, you know, you sculpt something, hard coat it, and you got a car. I mean, we could build this.
Crazy. Cool.
It's all fiberglass, and it does drive. It's over some other chassis, but I mean, just, you know, look at all these wild shapes. Jean's done a lot of movie cars over the years, from the Back to the Future series to Blade Runner, and they've all been made out of fiberglass. Pretty awesome. That's the whole thing with the fiberglass. It's just super versatile, you know? You're able to sculpt all these compound curves, whereas the metal, it just takes so much longer.
Yeah.
I know working with Victor, building this custom body, there's gonna be a lot of back and forth. Fiberglass will allow us to work quickly and allow us to make changes as we go. I just gotta get Victor on board. You know, Winfield was making a lot of those fiberglass Mercs and whatnot, and I was always taking a spy at the molds and everything that he was doing for the, you know, the construction of that. And he's got all the stuff here in the back. I knew he had a big pile of this stuff over here still. This is like the fiberglass graveyard, man. It's like a complete Mercury manufacturing station.
It's all out of fiberglass, huh?
You just sculpt it out and it becomes your model. You love the Mercs, but these guys don't rust. And those are the molds for them, see?
Oh, yeah.
The roof,
Look at all
the hood, the trunk. Not only did Jean have all of these Merc lead sled fiberglass bodies, there was also a sports car there. It looked like it was molded off of a Ferrari.
Check it out. An F40. Right there, huh?
Wow.
Now
That's a mean machine right there.
Right there.
Walking around, I think Victor's starting to see the potential in all this stuff. He's knocking car bodies out one after the other. We got to follow the same course.
I'm not really a fiberglass fan, but I see how much more we could do with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential. And it's something we haven't really explored either. So I just love the idea that, you know, it's kind of a new process, you know, instead of just trying the same old tricks, let's go for something different.
And when you could go from some space age vehicle to a F40 to a Mercury, I mean, that's pretty amazing, all in fiberglass.
See, there's one of the fiberglass Mercs hanging on his sign right there.
Is there Ian Roussel around here anywhere?
Hey, man.
Hey, there he is. Come on around.
Oh, okay. Howdy, good to see you again.
Great to see you.
Good show, as usual, man. Everybody's here. Yeah, I was showing off the stuff to Victor in the back because we're gonna make a sculpted fiberglass body, something more sports car-y, you know, along those lines.
Yeah.
Really low.
How you gonna make the plug?
Well, that's what we're trying to figure out. We don't know what we're doing, and I said, this guy already knows. Jean knew exactly what I was after and started giving me the inside tips. He's filling me in on 60+ years of fabrication experience, and I'm just trying to take it all in.
And then we bond over it. It's a lot of work.
I gotta
Yeah, a lot of work.
I have a little background in model and mold making, and Jean's giving me the whole spiel, A to Z, and it's really helping me out.
It's the only way you can do it.
Okay.
It takes hours and hours, but
I had a
that's it.
feeling it's a lot of work,
Yes.
but we're gonna give it a
Yeah.
shot. You never
Okay.
know. Thank
All
you.
right. You're welcome.
Once again, with the wisdom. So I just talked with Jean. He laid out the whole process, A through Z. And this fiberglass thing, I know it's gonna give us that super rigid, lightweight, supercar, sports car feel.
And something you'll be able to mold and enhance, and if we don't like it, we could adjust it.
After seeing the pile of stuff he's got and him explaining it, I think we could nail this. He told me, just like with the
Cool.
bubble top, we could do it. Oh, you need this thing right on the back of your Merc. Just drill a 5-inch hole saw right through the trunk.
That would take us to the next level.
Oh, this is next level, yes. It's exactly what we need. Hello.
You don't know me, but I know you.
Cool. You're
Huh?
on TV right now. Say
Oh,
hi to
really?
the fans.
I watch your show all the time.
Cool,
Good
man.
show.
Thanks. Glad you
do
like
some
it.
good metal stuff.
Thanks, man. You saw the cars from the show, right? They're over here. We got the Merc and then the Packard right
you
there.
did that Merc here?
Well, the black Merc and then the purple Packard. Yeah.
Best
What?
lesson I learned from you is to get the big pizzas because it makes bigger
Thanks.
templates.
The bigger, right? Exactly. That's perfect. See, that guy's an old schooler. So it continues. We're still in the early stages of this project, but we've committed to making a fiberglass mold of the body once it's finished. But in the meantime, we can build the car out of anything. We're creating things as we go, changing things on the fly. It's definitely unusual, but I have a few ideas on how to pull it off.
Ian, how you doing?
What's going on?
What did you do? That's pretty cool.
I got the whole engine compartment kind of squared away. You know, I went with aluminum, and then I think like a riveted final detail would be pretty neat. You know, something real shiny down in there.
As I walk in, we got the back fenders kind of in place. It's still like a hodgepodge. Like Ian said, anything goes, because this is just like the clay mold.
I love this because we still could put another element in here.
You can do whatever you want in here. You know, this surface is represented. I really want to get these fenders so that there's no holes in the back of the car. Looking at it now, it's really loose, sort of like a patchwork quilt, not even stitched together yet. But I'm seeing the finished flesh on this thing, and it's got to be set up correctly. I mean, the idea of screwing this Porsche quarter panel onto the Sterling body seems kind of strange.
That ain't strange, that's like crazy.
Yeah.
Madman. Now I'm getting excited again.
So what I was thinking was I just took this aluminum sheet, super light, and I just formed it over a piece of tube. That way it'll radius down into the engine compartment. So this is gonna pop on here. It's gonna do the same thing as everything else we've built so far. Just gonna represent a surface. Yeah.
Slight body modification here.
I'm gonna have to put something in there to hold that up. Bundled sweatshirt technique, sponsored by Carhartt. Thank you very much. See? Now you're solid.
We got fiberglass, we got aluminum, we got a piece of my shoe, now we got a sweatshirt. Come on now.
Nobody breathe. See that?
There goes my Sterling.
Greased out.
We got aluminum foil, we got duct tape. It looks pretty rough, and there's a word for it, and it ain't a good word.
Custom bodywork. So this is all pretty distracting. I think we should just primer gray this area. That way we just have like a monotone looking thing we could build up off of. The aluminum foil just wasn't suspending itself like I had hoped. So I wanted to reinforce the whole taillight area with metal before we finalized the design.
I could save this aluminum for my sandwiches, for peanut butter and jelly sandwiches tomorrow.
I'm doing this fast and efficient, bunch of strips of a little thicker material. It's gonna end up right. This is just another super fast mock-up, you know, just to see what we're working with. By getting the go sign from that foil thing, you know, it's just a little bit rounder surface. I really just want to get rid of the rest of that sterling in the rear quarter of the vents. I know I don't want to see, so I'm gonna fit in some panels there just to get this thing so there's no holes in the back of the car. Well, just spray that gray, see what we come up with. Stand back on it now. Let's take a good whiff of those paint fumes, start to dream.
Man, I just go, that's like more like it.
See, that totally changes the whole thing. Now you're not looking at all these panels. You just kind of blur your eyes a little bit, and you got a fender, man.
Ian's gonna do the other side the same, and I can't wait to see it after it's all put together.
Everything that's happening here is pure sculpting. If you look at a sculptor, they start with an armature, and they keep adding and adding whatever it takes to bring to the surface. I know it's gotta be refined, but we need to get there somehow. Got this passenger side pretty much matched to what Victor and I agreed on over there. Where I'm at now is I need to get this surface workable. What are you crying about? It's like the freaking pitcher walking up to the catcher in a baseball game. It's like a whole thing going on here. He says it's time to put the fiberglass on. Can't make any calls until we see that surface represented. This primer coat was purely visual, just to get all the different colors out of the way. I gotta sand through, get the majority of these screw heads off, and then I'm just gonna lay a couple sheets of fiberglass over this work we did, just to give it a little more strength. Right now there's stuff all over the place, different heights, different materials. The fiberglass is gonna glue it all together and make a nice surface to work off. I want to be sure that this fiberglass is going to stick, so in this thing that I'm accomplishing is just giving some texture for the fiberglass to grip to. Truth be told, I'm not the most professional fiberglass guy. I have limited experience, but it's fascinating, so I keep trying. This is the problem we're facing with the metal. When you push down here, it wants to buckle up. As soon as this is wet, all those fibers are going to relax. The only advantage of using fiberglass at this stage of the game is that it's super flexible and it will bond to aluminum, fiberglass, and steel. To weld that thing, you'd have to make it out of one style of metal. Big, long, drawn-out process. It's a little like mopping the floor. It's a little like pouring syrup on your waffles. I laid up that fiberglass, it's set just fine. I put a quick skim of body filler on and cut it back just to see what our heights were. And I could see already, this taillight mock-up we did is gonna be way low. What I have here is this is the hip of the fender coming down, and the Porsche naturally dips way down into the taillight. I'm gonna just fiberglass right over these, and we're gonna have to cut new taillight holes. I feel good about this, you know? It's not just anybody. You can throw a bunch of sheet metal screws and saran wrap and build a supercar, but watch me go. Everything looks so rough. I just want to get it looking more like a fender when Victor gets here. So this is less auto body tech and more fun body filler tech. Purely like icing on a cake. Fiberglass is hairy and scary. See, this stuff's a little bit smoother. As loose as it seems, I think it's starting to flesh out, and everybody's gonna understand why I went this way. The idea here is to just get these two fenders pretty close, get a good representation. You can see the rear of the car is fleshing out. It looks pretty freaking massive. Super wide, super low. I can't wait to show Victor.
I came in today, Ian, doing some body work. I used to do that myself. I said, give me the sanding block, and I started shoot. I didn't lose a darn thing.
I mean, you could tell I'm totally committed. When's the last time you see me doing body work?
It's good to see Victor getting his hands dirty, you know, doing some of the body work. We also got these 2 tools from Eastwood that'll help ensure that these lines on the car are symmetrical.
We're pretty close. And I'd like to see that in primer so it all, you know, ties in and we could get the big picture to make sure the fenders are the same.
Oh yeah, for sure. Primer gets rid of all the different tones. The gray just evens everything out. It's the best way to look at something in progress.
It's like nothing I've ever seen before.
Flattening it out one tone, you can really see the shapes. A little refining on the driver's side, but I mean, that's a freaking massive rear end.
How much more work do you need to make a mold? You need it finished, right?
Oh yeah, the better we make the model, the better the mold comes out. We could either turn the car around and start on the front, or if there's anything else you want to change back there, I'd say it's a perfect time to do it.
Now it's like a whole bunch of like bumper back there or body. It's like nothing but rear end showing. I need just one thing to soften that up, and it's got to be massive. We need to do some kind of crazy exhaust, right?
Well, I mean, whatever you're thinking, you know, we've done a pretty substantial rearrangement in the back end so far. Everything here is really starting to come together, but I think the one big thing is going to be the exhaust that sets this rear end apart from anything you look at. The 911 exhaust had these big exhausts coming out under each side of the bottom. You know, if you wanted to mask that, maybe have them come out through these holes or whatever.
Yeah, I was thinking something kind of massive here in the middle. 3 or 4 muffler pipes sticking out of the back. Hey, I had a dream, you know.
My initial idea in my mind was to see this massive car go by you, like what the heck was it? And all you see is this big old pipe with some fins coming out almost like a bomb.
All the supercars got the fins on the bottom. Well, hey, guess what? I want the fins on the top and I want the fins on the side. Almost like a propeller to a boat, but straight.
Okay. Victor's coming up with all these ideas about multiple exhaust tips, some kind of really exotic designs, and I'm saying let's just try to get some real world structure to this theory. Let's just make like a cardboard mock-up, come up with some kind of concept. All right, so whatever diameter exhaust you use is up to you, but I got this tubing from the fiberglass. I'll just cut this cardboard off. We'll have something to work with. Way too small.
Too small. That's like embarrassing, you know. We need some like volume here, man.
So something more like this or this diameter, like way big.
Yes, that's what I'm looking at. Remember, massive.
Let's just tape them on the car, see kind of what we got proportion-wise. So, I mean, 3 sort of fits like that. That's an even better mock-up than freaking cardboard and drawing, huh? Well, stand back and look at that. I mean, 5-inch exhaust is pretty substantial.
I was thinking of having a fin, and a fin, but I only need the fins on top, on the bottom, and the 2 on the side. And it changes the whole back end of that car. And then put fins on the bottom. Yeah, exactly, a fin, okay.
Victor's description of this theory is pretty elaborate. It's a bomb, it's a jet engine, it's fast, it's hot. A little hard to figure out exactly how it's gonna end up. We're just trying to get this concept as close in the mock-up to what's gonna happen in the real world.
Ian, I feel like I'm in arts and crafts. I failed arts and crafts in school.
So this is the same size diameter as the tape, so I mean, that's a pretty substantial exhaust pipe.
And you know what, as I'm looking at it, maybe 2 would do it. Check it out, stand back, see what you think.
I kind of like 3. Shop inspector's checking it out as well. I think he's gonna have the final word.
Dude, what do you think? Cool? All right, I guess he said that's cool. He wants
3's
3.
the number. 3's the number. I think it's gonna stick.
As I left that, I mean, it was pretty loose mock-up. I mean, a lot of things could be changed or interpreted, but that's his problem.
The thing is, when Victor's describing all this and coming up with a cardboard concept, I'm really starting to see my own vision of it, and that's the challenge in this whole thing. I gotta build it. Hands down, this is a pretty loose mock-up. Victor and I decided on 3 exhaust ports with a series of fins. The rest is kind of up to me. So I got a bunch of scrap stuff from the metal supply. This is aluminum plate. It's 1/2 inch thick. They just had all these squares in the remnants pile and a bunch of these cylinders. All I had to go off was this cardboard template and a couple rolls of tape, so you could see it's pretty darn near that. So these fins will be set up kind of crosshair style at 90-degree intervals, and then they'll all screw together. In a perfect world, I would have a lathe and a mill. I would probably set this in the mill on the slider deal and have lines perfectly parallel with each other. But I don't have a mill. I've got a magic marker, a somewhat flat table, and a roofing square. I don't have a lathe. I'm using a marker. Hey, a marker on the table is gonna be fine. Stick with me. One thing I'll concede to is the fact that the design and development of this piece is a little unorthodox, but that's just business as usual around here. It's gonna sit right in the center of that square. Your fins are all already dictated as far as how they go, 90 degrees apart from each other. I can come in with the plate right up to that line and set it parallel with this here and scribe straight up. Got this really rudimentary jig on the table. What it's going to afford me is the ability to mark each fin location symmetrically. And then they'll all screw together. So I know we're going to get these parts polished in the end. So the idea of it being modular, they'll be able to easily polish it and then we can reassemble it. The whole thing here is the billet aluminum fad. When it looks high-tech, machine finish, looks expensive, it looks classy. I'm gonna do it without the expense or the class. Now, these are all together. They go back onto their jiggy jig, and we set up the design for these fins. Victor's fins looked a lot like this square. They were triangular. Instead of having this pointy triangle shape, I think it should go straight back, more jet-like. Sort of like that. This is inside the car. Probably the majority of this is in the car. So really, all you're seeing is like that. This is a pretty big plate to cut. Could use any type of high-tech machinery in the world. But I think I'm just gonna use the common jigsaw. I mean, this looks good, but I want it to look great. I think I'm gonna take a router and then make a radiused edge on all this. The dog's head is spinning. I don't think he's convinced for one iota that this is gonna work. Hey, not too bad for a couple carpentry tools, huh? What do you think? That edge looks so cool, I'm gonna do the same to these tubes. What's not to like about that? I was thinking that having these stacked together, it could be added to by just putting the spacer through here. And in effect, what that does is make it look like this fin travels right through, and it makes it look a little bit lighter. This thing is really starting to come together. I think the shop inspector is even starting to get convinced. Again, this is all still just roughed out. If you have to cut it or modify it, so we will. So you can see, it's gonna go right in the middle of that license plate opening. See now. Now he's finally conceding. We're just gonna cut out in here and then something like this. It's gotta go in a good 8 or 9 inches. Aha! So the whole concept is these being the stock exhausts, we're gonna want something a little rowdier sounding, but we'll be able to work within the parameters of the stock exhaust setup, aiming right through here. Oh yeah, that's totally cool. That's exactly what I was hoping to achieve. There may even be more fins coming out the width of the car below, but that's rocket ship. Looks like it's gonna fit. It can be adjusted later. I just have one other element that I want to surprise Victor with. I'm very happy with everything. Mostly that it's like, it can be like skee ball.
Ian, how's it going?
Hey man, got that exhaust mocked up.
That's rad, man.
After I open the door, I look straight to the car. I know I say, wow, this was wow.
That ain't what I give you when I left.
Yeah, no, I made a few changes. Victor walks in and I could tell right away he's digging it. It's a far cry from a cardboard tube.
And it's centered with the car and it gives it just enough bulk to give it like, look, I got the power behind me. He's thinking, hey, is that okay with you? What's he looking on the table for? What's there?
Oh, the last thing we were doing when you walked in was these three. I forgot about them.
Dude.
So he just reminded me.
Hey.
So you know that intake you had over there in the other shop? I took 3 of the horns, the intake horns, and I made them fit the tubes here. These work as an additional element, like crosshairs. So they just go in like a key, right? You index it, you turn it, and they clip right in.
What a difference. Dude, thanks. Dude, thanks.
I almost forgot about that.
That exhaust system is wicked. I mean, look at that.
What we've achieved so far is pretty solid. The rear end's looking good. We haven't even considered the front of the car. So we're really just still in the clay model stage of this thing. You know, anything can happen with the taillights. The exhaust will go in on the final body. I think we should spin this car around and get on to the front.
Again, we just finished.
Right.
I'm tired.
Yeah, I know.
You know, right away, Ian, hey, I'm slowing the build down. We're talking too much. He wants to get on the front, and I'm going, wow, well, let me absorb the back, Ian.
Challenge is really making this thing match front, back, side to side. I think that if we get these 2 front fenders and some kind of a grille bumper represented, that'll give us the answers to the side pods and the roof line.
Yeah, because that roof line's got to change, like, dramatically.
Hey, you picked the Sterling, man, not me. So the same thing goes for the nose of this. You saw the process in the back. Anything you find, file cabinets, space helmets, you name it. Anything you want to put on the front, we just fiberglass over it, and that becomes the model.
I thought I was lost in the back. I'm really lost in the front.
I've got some ideas. I know Victor's head is spinning. What we achieved in the rear, I can't wait to transfer that energy into the nose of the car. This whole journey started when I went looking for a new project. I was looking for something I could really dig my teeth into, you know, push the boundaries, and then Victor called. He started throwing down some concepts, and I got a bunch of ideas. This could be the most ambitious project yet. It's true. Victor is always pushing the boundaries, so let the adventure begin. Here There he is, Mr. Sports Car.
Man, this thing drives so good. I mean, really good.
I was impressed. Victor pulls in, and he's looking really comfortable behind the wheel of that new car.
Now I get it.
Enjoy it while it lasts, man.
Now I'm like a little skeptic. I'm going, oh, shoot. Do I really want to tear apart this like awesome looking sports car that drives and handles convertible top? It's like, come on, Victor, what are you thinking about?
I see the look in his eyes, and I just want to confirm. It's like, hey, man, you still want this to happen? Once we go forward, there's no turning back.
My whole life, I always wanted to get a Porsche.
It's your last chance, otherwise we're gonna get into it.
I don't really want to cut this thing up, but hey, I got Ian in my corner, and he's always pulled off my crazy ideas. We got a good foundation, so let's move forward and do what we got to do. The Porsche and the donor car. The only thing I really want on this thing is this top. You know what, we may use some of the silhouette, but this top, the way it opens, gotta go on the Porsche.
Because Victor's been so vague in his description, I'm just trying to figure out something to get Victor's idea in motion. He's got these two cars, he doesn't want either of them, so I'm assuming it leaves a lot open to my interpretation, so I'm gonna go forward in the best manner I see fit. I think the most straightforward thing to do is for me to just cut this thing into multiple pieces, get the chassis out of the way, and then tomorrow we'll tackle that one.
Here we go again. We're on the next journey. Where we're gonna end up, nobody knows. We don't even know. Ian looks at me thinking I know what the heck I'm doing, but in my mind, I don't know where in the heck I'm going.
Victor's heading on out the door, and I tell him, enjoy that Porsche while it's still intact, because I got plans.
That's my baby, right? You could cut the heck out of anything you want, just don't cut my top.
Okay. Surgical precision.
How do I look in this thing?
You look good, man.
All right, I'm out of Dodge.
Have fun. I guess the first thing is to lift this roof up and get rid of it in one piece. One thing I can say is I'm a master of disassembly. We're gonna work right through this car, pretty simple. I said, it's not locked. The one thing that was the sure thing, you know, the main wish on the list, doesn't work. No good. Nothing. It's not even budging. What it is, the hydraulic pistons, they're hydraulic. So as you try to lift it, there's no way to lift it. They're sealed shut. That's a super sketchy aspect of the design. You could see what happened. This car failed and somebody got locked inside. And that's why that window's kicked out. Guaranteed. The way this roof opens is it's a hydraulic unit, so you cannot just lift it up. There's oil inside it, and it's non-compressible. So if the motor doesn't lift it, you don't lift it. So what they did was they filled it with oil. It worked for 10 minutes. And they sold it to Victor. Perfect case scenario, you know, starting off on a fresh new foot here, and of course nothing works. Therein lies the design flaw in the Sterling kit car. We just figured it out. Just gonna cut these 4 bolts and start over. The thing I was hoping to do is just retain these hydraulic hinges. You can see all the fluid is just coming out of the top of the pistons. I'm just gonna cut it out. A sane, normal mechanic would probably take off the tire and look under the car, but I ain't got time for that. We're gonna cut our way through. ugly body's out of the way, there's the pot of gold at the end of the kit car. It's a Volkswagen chassis, perfect running vehicle. I'm taking it home. The funny thing about putting this on the floor is all of a sudden it's just a concept car. It looked kind of weird up in the air with the Volkswagen suspension under it, but it actually looks more like some kind of a race car once it's laid down on the ground. Kit car is gone. Victor's bringing that Porsche back. It's a whole different process. You're back early.
Wow, dude, you cut that thing apart. I don't know, something doesn't feel right here. Can I put this top back on there again? Just to see if we haven't lost anything?
Victor's kind of got a one-track mind. I don't know if anyone's ever loved a Sterling roof as much as him. So, like, you know, you can do anything now.
Now it feels right because you could kind of see my flavors back.
Right. The number one thing I found out is that hydraulic unit is bunk. What happened was they filled it with oil. You were able to lift it 5 times and then it failed. So that either needs to be rebuilt or replaced entirely.
I'm not concerned about the hydraulic. I was concerned that he's gonna cut my roof. You never know with Ian.
So this thing's apart. I'm ready to get into the old Porsche, man. I got a couple ideas on that. I'll just take it all apart. By the time you come back tomorrow, this thing will be bare bones, ready for construction.
But remember, one wrong cut of a wire, it won't turn on, it won't go. This thing has sensors everywhere.
I know, that's what I was reading about online. I did my research. I know how to take it apart without messing up with the computer.
I'm on board. Let's do what you gotta do.
Might be a little painful to see it break apart.
Like, really painful. You know how many people are gonna be pissed off at you, not me, people. He did it, I just watched.
This is the part where some people flinch, but just like the surgeon in the operating room, you know, sometimes you just don't want to see it, but you want to get fixed. All right, man, I'll start taking it apart.
Talk to you later.
I'll just... Don't be nervous, I got this.
You know, I have complete faith in Ian, I guess.
Well, first things first is to disconnect the battery and unbolt everything I can. This is the white glove tech disassembly. What Victor doesn't know is this is a lot like a Volkswagen, just a little more high tech. The whole idea is to retain the complete drivetrain down to every last wire that the computer has a sensor for. All of this stuff is critical if this is going to pass emissions and if it's going to run properly. If you ever tried to take a door off, say, a 55 Oldsmobile, this is a totally different game. I'm not planning on using any of these body panels, but I'm also not going to beat them up. They're really nice. If we do have to retain something, we can just grab them and reuse it. Look how much stuff is hanging out beneath the fenders. Looks like a freaking Robotron or something. You could see how much room there is in the front of this car, which is perfect for the low nose profile we want to get in the end result. The OG is in the house. It's not my house, but we're still doing our same old thing. He's inspecting, he's checking stuff out, and I'm busy working as usual. What do you think? Like next level. I mean, we haven't done anything like this before. I don't think this dog is much into imports. You know, he likes the old school hot rods, customs. This is kind of a first. It's new territory. I'm guessing he's gonna warm up to it. I knew that everything from the doors forward was gonna unbolt. It came apart no problem. The back is a different story. I don't know what we're getting into. No turning back now. Waiting my whole life to do this. That's exactly what I was hoping to see. So now I can cut this bubble away and we got tons of room for a tire. He wants flavor, I got it right here. Tire's this big. After I cut the outer fender skin off, I saw the inner wheel tub and I realized we can cut a straight line front to back and allow us much more clearance for a bigger rim and tire combo. There's nothing like the smell of freshly cut Porsche in the morning. Look at that. One last thing that's in the way, and I know we're not gonna need it, is the windshield. The thing about this Boxster is that the windshield frame is a roll bar, and it's got a bunch of electrical wiring going to the rearview mirror. Sometimes things don't come easy, you know? I started off with my surgical precision and got all caveman on it in the end. I love the choice Victor made with this Boxster. As a concept car, it's ideal. The fact that it's a convertible, all the structure's still there. That's a huge plus for a kit car scenario. You cut the roof off a regular hardtop car, it gets flexible. It's a perfect base. It's a nice car. Glad to have destroyed it. No turning back now. This thing's looking like a blank slate. I'm really happy with the way it broke down.
What the heck did you do to my Porsche?
Victor comes in reacting in his typical way when he sees something that's pretty shocking. He's trying to hold it together. You know, I think he's a little concerned.
I came in and man, it's like worser looking than I thought it would be. I mean,
In taking this thing apart, it's really showed me how much room we have to be creative. There's no mechanical stuff ahead of the axle in the front or behind the axle in the rear. So it's pretty much open to whatever you want to do design-wise. As Victor's walking around, I'm just giving him a rundown of all the positive things I'm seeing in this vehicle underneath. How all the structure's still intact, how we didn't need that windshield that's broken all over the place in the corner, and he's responding. He's kind of getting it.
Ian started explaining, then I started getting excited. Hey, this is the first step.
You see all the wires, nothing's been cut. So everything we need to either bypass or reinstall, it's just a plug-and-play system.
This thing has so many sensors on it. I told Ian, all I care about is that that car runs after it's all stripped.
Apparently, he's found out that if you tamper with the electronics, these cars go into a safety mode and they won't start.
Yeah.
Everything is the same.
Awesome, man. That's awesome.
Like butter. That's why I took it apart this way. Hook the battery up, it runs. I think it's gonna be a good go-kart, man. Victor's become pretty attached to this car, and just seeing that it ran, you know, he wanted to hop in once more.
No rear view mirror.
Nothing. Nothing in your way. He wanted to sit in the car that's all cut apart. What's more fun than that?
Still feels good.
Same car, man.
Look at the wind's hitting my hair. I can't do a burnout, but I could. That's pretty cool. I seen it, I feel it, I taste it. Now, I'm excited. Where's the body at?
Well, we got that other thing, and I'm not sure. We got to fit it on and see if we got even something to start with. Now that we're this far, we got to put that roof on, make it work. I mean, just to realize some form of an idea to hack two cars apart is a pretty big investment on your part. I hope something here is gonna work.
I gotta cross my fingers. 1, 2, I need more luck. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, let's go for it, man.
The thing that I was mainly concerned with from the start is how wide that dashboard is. That actually fits.
Wow.
What the heck? It is literally the exact same width, pillar to pillar. The dashboard totally fits in there. That's ridiculous.
That's my roof. My cockamamie idea literally worked. I'm that guy that just thinks these crazy things up and hope they work. I mean, I'm even crossing my fingers now, and that thing worked.
I think you rolled the dice and came up pretty good. Just seeing that this roof fits, I mean, that kind of makes me fearless at this point. I was very apprehensive, but I could see how your brain's working, you know?
We could do anything. I mean, hey, now it's simple. We just got to design the whole car.
The crazy thing is a lot of people might wonder what the heck we're so excited about, but you know, for me, it's the initial 2 days of mock-up, and that's what this proved, is that the concept is solid. You know, the whole car did have to get taken apart just so we could see this.
When my children are born, it's like they're the most beautiful baby there is, and you're like, oh, and everyone's looking at it like, whoa, what's that guy looking at?
The car only a mother could love. We got a little of that, a little of this, and a lot more of nothing. All we gotta do is build a car now. Out here in Pasadena, the Art Center College of Design, their annual car show. This year's theme is called Hand Built, so it's featuring a lot of hand-built one-off and prototype cars. My homework assignment from Victor was try to find some flavor. You know, he's using that term constantly, so I'm not looking for any specifics here. Just trying to see what's on the ground and what's in the classroom. The coolest thing about this show is that it's all invited guests, alumni, designers, cream of the crop. So all of the cars here have some design elements to pull from, whether it's super antique or super futuristic. A few years ago, I was invited to this show with the Space Junkie in its first incarnation, so it was really an honor to be invited. You can see the stuff here is world class. They got a lot of really expensive exotic cars here. I was looking at this McLaren mostly because it has a side vent profile that mimics what Victor and I were discussing. There's also a lot of stuff that I can't even pronounce. Carbon fiber, one-off prototype supercar stuff. This McLaren has a door that opens by a wave of your hand. I don't know how it works. A heat sensor? It's like the magic touch, look at that. Yes. Super cool. Some of the things I was really paying attention to were the side vents, the exhaust placement, all the different features on these supercars. This would be a pretty interesting design for Victor's windshield, where the center comes through like that. I love these little fins coming off too. You don't see that. Same thing, all these cars, they have that divot in here and then flat. Some of them you see the engine, some of them you don't. All of these artistic things you're seeing are also for function. Tons of air vents, streamlined, just everything about them is about making the car fast and efficient. There's one bluish black car, all hand-laid carbon fiber. The exhaust is incredible, the interior is unreal. It looks like a video game rendering, but in 3 dimensions. It's like looking at any artist's work. They go through this phase or that phase, you see the work progress. When you look at the early cars, you see how it's evolved into what's going down the road today. So you can see how they're kind of dated. You know, the more modern ones are way more radical than these. Same thing with this one. That's the crazy thing. When you see the super modern stuff, if you didn't know the history, you wouldn't be able to identify them just by the look. But after studying it for a bit, they're pretty easy to pick out. You know what brand's what when you're looking at certain aspects of the vehicle. Walking through the center of the show, this is where they have all of the hand-built, one-off vehicles. A lot of aluminum bodies, just really incredible design and fabrication skill. I think this is freaking great, man. We're looking at this aluminum body that was made in the 50s or 60s, very simple craftsmanship and tooling, and the result is like world-class finish. This guy knows his work for sure. This car is in bare metal, no filler, you can't see any seams, and there doesn't appear to be any waves in the panel work. It's really about trying to find something unique. I'm looking for the oddball. There's this 1936 Scarab. It's like a minivan from the past. Incredible. thing I love about 30s cars is the Art Deco stuff. This is totally inspired by some kind of an insect. You see the beetle on the front, the way this all opens up. I don't even care how this applies to the car we're doing, but come on. Flathead V8 in the back. I want this. I'll trade this guy 6 cars for this car. Walking through the classrooms here, you can see they are heavy on theory. Sketching, illustration, the whole deal. It's all about ideas. The Art Center is all about the new young talent, and I'm kind of scamming in a little on that. Checking out the classrooms, looking around, see what all the hot young designers are up to. It's really about trying to find something unique. I want something that's completely unidentifiable and like hypnotizing. I'm really charged up. I got a million ideas. I took a bunch of pictures I want to share with Victor. I think we're ready to get started on this build. I'm looking for a new build. A lot of the projects we've done in the past have been in a 1 or 2 month time frame. I'm really trying to do something that can expand on the process and go into uncharted territory. I've always got a few projects on hand. Right now I have a 29 Ford Model A Roadster pickup and a 29 Ford 2-door sedan. These cars are hugely popular the last few years because you can go a million different directions with it. You lower this thing, chop the top, big engine, wild paint job, you got a nice vehicle. This Roadster pickup was going to be a bit more of a conservative project. I've got 4 full fenders, hood, grille, and I was hoping to make a removable hardtop roof. It's like a giant go-kart. If you've driven one, you know, they're super fun. This one's set up kind of highboy style. I was thinking maybe full fendered, something a little bit more adult looking. For me, I like the crazy stuff, something that's really going to challenge me. So I've got a few hot rod projects, I got a couple other ideas, but I really just want to see what a few of my friends have going on also. I put a few calls out, and the first guy to respond was my friend Bill. This thing is awesome.
Isn't that great?
Bill didn't tell me much about it, but he said it had a lot of character. And sure enough, pulling in the driveway, you're facing this ominous front grille. What's not to like about big trucks?
This is what they call an R190, 1953. I saw it at a truck show, and I loved it. I had to have it.
And it's all original inside?
It's very original. I mean, original motor, inline 6-cylinder. They called them a red diamond. I just couldn't pass it up. It was such a nice vehicle. And of course, you can do your magic with it.
When you think big rig, you think tandem axles in the rear, just this big giant thing. But this truck has got like a giant pickup truck look. It's got a short wheelbase, but it has all the heavy duty stuff.
And the winch
That is awesome.
is a hydraulic PTO-driven
Right,
winch.
big chain off of the freaking drivetrain. This is a really complete truck. Walking around checking it all out, it's all there. I'm sure this thing is roadworthy. Oh, and the interior is like totally nice in here too. It's not all beat to heck. Somebody took care of this.
Fire it up. Yep, it's a runner. Take it for a ride.
The whole thing about a big truck like this is you never know how it's gonna drive. So immediately stepping on the clutch, everything's smooth, it shifts really nice. It's got an air horn. I mean, come on, what's not to like about this? This truck is definitely an option, you can tell. It's got a lot of potential. pretty darn nice. I don't know, man. Test drive is kind of the temptation.
Well, don't have to worry about this, because you know me, I don't get rid of anything.
Unless
I
I
just
take
keep it, unless you raise your hand.
Next guy on my list was my friend Jack. He does all the upholstery for me, and unfortunately, he's got the car thing also. He says he's got projects galore. Hey, Jack.
Ian, how you doing?
I'm ready for a new project. What do you got?
Well, I got a few items here.
No, I've been
I
looking
got this
at
65 Rivy.
Uh-huh.
It's been sitting here for a while.
Yeah, I love these cars. Jack is one of my clients that is not afraid to do the radical stuff. We proved that with his last project. I knew he had this Riviera. The sky's the limit with these cars.
And we put a LS1 in it.
Oh, cool.
And I rolled the pan on the bottom here. I was
Finally.
just kind of making it a mild custom.
It's got a great line. Especially, I love the rear quarter panels and the way the C-pillars come into them. He says this one's game. He's ready to rock on it, so we'll check it out and see what he's got.
And 54 Chevy. Two-door hardtop.
Right on.
And I also have a Ranchero down there.
Oh,
57 Rancheroo. I've got 3 projects.
right.
And no, I don't have enough time. So if you want to take one of these and do it, it'd be fine.
Well, I've got a lot of ideas for this and that Riviera for sure. My one main wish for this next project is something that I can really spend a lot of time on the fabrication aspect of things and the creative portion of it. Instead of just trying to pick one idea and run with it, I really want to develop something awesome. One of my other clients who got back to me right away was my friend Victor. He was kind of vague. He wasn't telling me what he wanted to do. He said, hey, meet me at this car show. Let's talk about a few things. I was searching around for clients who wanted to do a new project. Victor called me out. He said he's got a couple ideas. He was kind of vague. He wasn't telling me what he wanted to do. He said, hey, meet me at this car show. Let's talk about a few things. Victor's one of my wildest clients. We've done a lot of really crazy stuff, and he just can't seem to get enough. So him calling me out to this car show, I'm just wondering what's brewing.
Ian, how you doing, man?
Good morning.
The reason why I wanted to bring Ian out was to get some inspiration. I won't tell him what I'm gonna do. I'll let him feel it. I mean, we've done so many other projects. I want to stretch his ability to the next level.
We walk right in the gate, and there's a beautiful Mercury Custom. I know Victor's all about those, so I'm figuring, yeah, here we go, another lead sled.
I think we need a different flavor.
Rolls Royce.
I'm not ready for that.
You're not ready to be chauffeured around? You still want to drive? You're always asking for more room. How about just making smaller cars? I mean, you could do like this. You could do 10 of these in the space it takes to put one Merc. This car show is all over the map. It's kind of a game of pin the tail on the donkey. I just don't know where the donkey is.
Yeah, check this out over here.
These things are crazy, man. I've seen them, but I've never really paid much attention to it. But the more you're pointing them out, it's pretty amazing. Look at the way the fender line, and then you have the huge negative cavity where the air intake is.
And as we started talking, everything fell in line. He started to become impressed with all these supercars. Hey, look at these vents. Hey, look at this. Look at the engines. Look at the way they flow.
No, now I'm starting to get the idea of what you're talking about. All these styling elements will somehow translate it into that Volkswagen over there. It's perfect. This is what I'm talking about. It's your classic VW. And if you want to do some kind of an awesome styling exercise, the Volkswagen platform is ideal for that. And the engine, I mean, listen to it. It's got that iconic sound.
Yeah, no, that is, but I'm out.
I'm all on board, and Victor's like, no, that's not what I'm thinking. It's punk rock, man.
I'm out. That's my flavor. I want that stealth.
Victor always describes himself as that old school lowrider guy, right? He's got the Mercs, he's got a lot of cool 50s, 60s customs. Then he's telling me his wife has got some idea for this stealth vehicle.
First of all, my wife said, honey, why don't you build a stealth? And I'm going, stealth, stealth. You know, the stealth bomber? I go, that's interesting. As I start to look at these supercar, Ferrari, Lamborghini, they have such a stance and a look that's just amazing. When they're standing there, it looks like they're going 100 miles an hour.
Victor brings me over to the Batmobile, the iconic 60s show car, and he's telling me this wild design, this anything goes mentality is really where we're going with this next project.
This car has inspired so many people to do custom build. This is why we're here, because of this man right here.
Sure,
right?
No doubt about it, yeah.
And if he could do this, we could do what we want to accomplish also.
It's a little relief to come to the Batmobile because I know it's a hand-built, it's a custom-crafted vehicle.
We talked about Barrett's, we talked about inspiration, we talked about the fabrication, what it takes to do it. And I said, Ian, anything is possible.
Victor's got these crazy ideas of some kind of a exotic sports car. I have no concept of this type of vehicle, so it's a path in a whole new direction.
This is the flavor, man. That's something that you were meant to build your entire life, man. That's it.
All led up to this.
It all led up to the
Finally arrived. I never want to be stagnant, you know? I'm always looking for the next thing, the next hurdle to jump, and I think Victor's setting it up big. Victor brought me out here to his nursery. He says he's got a car he wants me to check out. The heck is this thing?
Yeah, I got this at a junkyard.
Oh, perfect starting point. You never know what we're getting into with this guy, but pulling up on it, I can see it's got a really low profile in the nose. I don't know what it is.
Check this out.
What the heck is this, a Sterling?
I don't know, nothing. They just delivered it. They were gonna crush this thing. I said, no, no, no. This is our starting point.
No, we're building a world-class show car. We need this ugly duckling from the junkyard. I get it.
Yes.
Perfect.
That's your MO. Everything you've done has been a pile of doo-doo, comes out to a pile of diamonds, right?
Doo-doo diamonds, baby. That's what we do here. It's a kit car from the 70s. It's not exactly a Lamborghini. I think this thing was going to the junkyard for a reason.
Well, that's
Where's the rest of it?
Shoot, I better plead my case here. So I said, hey, Ian, check this out. The main reason why I want this car is for the roof.
Oh, right, yeah, I've seen these before. I know exactly what this thing is. The main thing that Victor's talking about is how this roof opens and closes. It was disconnected, he wants to try it out. He's saying that that's the #1 selling point of this whole concept. I bolted the roof on, hooked the battery up to it, and who knows, let's see if it works. Well, I guess fire it up.
Let's do it. Yeah, yeah, huh? Now that's what I'm talking about.
Totally works. That's smooth, too.
Yeah, yeah, baby.
That's freaking cool.
Yeah, then you get in.
This is the coolest, ugliest car I've ever seen.
See? Yeah, look at that flavor. I mean, look at that thing.
That's cool, man.
Supercar. I mean, the rest of it's irrelevant. That's what I wanted. The rest of the car means nothing. As long as we got this part working, we design around that and we got it.
He says, don't look at anything else. The roof feature is what we're going with. We're building a whole car around this. Does it run?
I don't know.
You don't even care, do you?
I don't even care.
You just want to see these two motors work.
Yeah. I told him, hey, Ian, if you want to get it running, go ahead. I got to go to a job right now, so I'll be you back at the shop in a couple hours. I have a lot more surprises that I'm going to show this man.
Closing the capsule. Watch your head. It moves around pretty good, but supercar it is not. I can't wait to get it back to Victor and see what he's got planned. I'm really not sure where Victor's going with this whole concept, but he's happy with the way the roof functions. You know, I just wanted to get it to his shop and discuss it further, find out what's really happening.
Hey, Ian, you beat me back to the shop,
Dude,
man.
I got this thing running. I drove it all the way here. Everything about it works. The roof opens. It's all about just changing the look of this thing.
I'm glad to see you got it running, but I'm not really concerned with that. Let me show you what I'm thinking. Remember, I don't want a kit car, and I don't want a Sterling, and I don't want a Volkswagen. I don't like anything in the front end of this thing. Nothing.
Me either. We're looking at the front of the car, and he's like, I don't like any of it. We're gonna delete this. He comes around to the back. He says, I don't like any of it. We're gonna delete that. He's looking at the sides. We're gonna get rid of most of this, and we're gonna enhance everything, which is a pretty vague description. I hear you, man. All we gotta do is change everything. Typical story.
I got a lot of ideas, but I don't want to really spit them all out or tell them to him because I want some of his input too. Remember, we're building a supercar. We're not building a 50s custom one-off, one-of-a-kind,
That's
the
what I
most
love
awesome
about
car
this,
out
right?
there.
Yeah. With all the other stuff I considered, that's why I was hooked on your idea at the car show because, you know, it's kind of like what we're doing with the customs. There's no rules. It's just a different shaped car. I was a bit skeptical when we pulled the cover off of this, being that it's a fiberglass kit car, but, you know, performance vehicles are super strong, super lightweight, and this really is right in that direction.
But fiberglass, I know this is sturdy. I mean, is that supercar material?
Well, think about it. Everybody who's done these concept cars works with this. Even modern Corvettes are some kind of a composite, and that's why they use these types of materials. True. We haven't built any cars out of fiberglass, and I think it's a really good challenge. It's unlike anything I've ever done. I think it's gonna be cool.
And Ian, you know, sometimes I change my mind.
You can pretty much upgrade everything on this kit car, but it's never gonna handle like a high-end sports car. As far as sports car goes, you know, you have this VW Beetle, 4-wheel drum brakes, and about 50 horsepower, so it's not really a performer, but it does run darn good. This is kind of a weird thing that they just put this box here, but you get rid of that. I know we can hop this motor up and make it really fast, put a cool custom gas tank, and just open the whole back of the car up, man.
Remember, we're building a supercar.
Right.
If we go to Super Show and we open this hood up and say, look at my motor, they're gonna laugh us to another country. And I'm not leaving this country.
Yeah, perfect.
This has potential to do whatever we want to do. It's an open canvas. And Ian keeps talking about, hey, we could do this cam and these headers and dual carburetor on this Volkswagen engine, and I couldn't take it anymore. I said, Ian, no more Volkswagen, it's a supercar, hang on. I pull out my phone and I said, just a moment. You know what? Let me make a phone call. Hang on a second.
Victor's got people, so I don't know who he's calling, but he's on the phone.
Hey, you think you come by the shop?
Anything's possible. My first reaction is that he's got a guy with an engine adapter or something, so we're gonna put a better engine in this car.
Thanks, bye. Check this out.
Wow. So what, you're changing your mind on that car? You gonna do this instead?
No. This is the donor car.
What? I'm walking out and there's a nice Porsche Boxster pulling in. I figure the trunk is full of stuff for this vehicle in the garage. And Victor's like, no man, this is the stuff for the vehicle in the garage. So the whole idea is we're just going to build off of this thing and then create the shapes that mimic that car. I get it, right?
No. We're gonna tear this whole thing apart, fender, top, glass, everything comes off.
So you want to cut this whole thing apart?
Yes. You gonna cut the car apart. I'm gonna watch. I'm committed, even though I'm getting pressure from every end. Even Ian's kind of like, hey, you like crazy?
I don't know what to say. You sure?
I wanted to start with a good foundation. I mean, we got a new car. It's a 2000 Porsche. versus the 1970 Volkswagen falling apart, riggedy-raggedy car. I want to take the best of both cars, Ian.
That's pretty crazy, man. You're up in the game once again. Can I drive it around for one night? Can I go on a date?
He wants to go on a date. You could have the thing, because you're going to cut it
Ladies,
apart.
dinner?
Well, it still runs.
Wow. I don't get this opportunity often. It's pretty tight in here. It's built for a slightly smaller person.
Yeah, I want him to drive it so he could feel what I'm talking about.
All right, see you never. I quit.
Now he's never going to want to tear the thing apart.
This is a whole new thing for me. I've never driven a car like this. It's like tight, super low to the ground. The way it shifts is amazing. Man, this thing is fun.
So what do you think, man?
It's like a video game. It's like you don't even feel the car, it just performs. Are you saying we're gonna do this instead of that, or what?
No.
So you bought two cars and you don't want either of them. You can
Yes.
try to make something you do
I don't want a Porsche, and I don't want a Sterling Volkswagen.
I see the potential in both of these. I mean, there's good and bad in each of them. You know, it's just like, I thought we were building a piece of junky car there, and then you show up with this thing, so I'm a little confused.
Okay, I'm confused too, but our goal is to put this car on this car and take this car apart and build ourselves a supercar that doesn't exist.
I've heard statements, I went looking for trouble, and boy, did I find it. I think with all the clients I've entertained, you know, Victor's always the guy who comes back like a whip crack with the thing I was hoping to never figure out, but now have to.
We built things that didn't even exist. Hey, you even made me furniture.
Yeah.
So why can't you make that into this and this into that, or vice versa, or up and down all around? Does that clarify it, or do you want
perfect.
plans now?
Crystal clear. Yeah, it's perfect. The main thing I'm understanding in Victor's mission statement here is that he wants it to act like a Porsche, have the flavor of some kind of a Sterling sports car roof opening thing, and be completely unique and world class and the best thing anyone's ever seen. So it's a pretty short order. I think we should handle this perfectly. I think it's gonna be okay. I really love the idea that Victor is just all concept on this. Most of the cars we start with, it's like chop, section, lower, that whole deal. He's not talking about any of that. He's talking about creating a whole new car body.
You know, I'm stuck in the 50s concept, mercury cut, chop, bubble, all this. And now, you know, because of my wife, she brought it up. Can you build a stealth car? You guys could build everything out. And you brag that you and Ian can achieve anything. Why don't you build a stealth car? And I said, holy moly, here it goes.
I'm both intimidated and excited. This is pretty high-end stuff in my world, and there ain't nothing to it but to do it. We'll figure it out as we go. We're at the Moon Eyes Christmas Party, Irwindale Speedway. If it's cool and you're looking for inspiration, this is the place to go. There are hot rods, customs, lowriders, you name it, it's all here. Kind of between projects, I don't know where I want to go next, so everything's here. I'm just looking for that one thing that sparks an interest. I'm looking for anything weird or unique. You know, people are willing to take a risk. I like the wild stuff. And there's nothing wrong with a monster truck either.
Watch your
Glad you
show.
like
I love
it.
those cars you build, man.
Thanks.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you, man.
You make the most craziest cars, man. That thing, beautiful.
Best job I ever had, man. Seems like everybody that stops me has a question about the show, so we decided to open up and just answer some questions.
Love the show. My question for Ian is, what is your dream car to build?
My question for Ian is, if you decided to do an aircraft, what kind of aircraft would you do?
Pleasure meeting you.
I should have brought my kids, man.
It's always next year. Come every time.
Ian, I got a question for you. When you're building a car, do you start by the look of the car?
I was wondering when you're gonna build a 65 fastback or Mustang, because I'm a Mustang guy. Love your show. Pleasure. One more time. One more time.
All around.
My man.
Take care, man.
Things like the bubble top. How do you ever think of how to do that?
Question that I had for Ian, honestly, was where did it all start, man? Like, where did this creativity and the fabrication skills come from?
I don't know. I figured we'd just open up the whole show, just kind of give some back, answer the people. People always ask me what's my favorite part about building cars. For me, it's the unexpected. See you later. I like having fun at work. I'm always looking for ways to keep things around the shop interesting. Sometimes I get really weird requests from clients. Literally, this car lifts up, and spins around. It's kind of half carnival ride, half Thunderbird. Working with clients is always interesting. Somehow the word got out that I can build anything, and people are lining up to see that. This is my kind of guy. He's got parts all over the place, a collection of just military stuff. Whoa, so this is like a Jeep front, but it's an
That's a M725 ambulance, Vietnam era.
like a MASH Jeep.
I used to have all of them. I had the 715, the 726, and the 724. And as years have gone on, I got a few other little military things laying around.
Holy moly. He said he had a big truck, so I'm thinking like a lifted 4x4 or something. I walk up on it, and this is like massive.
Now, it's a Mack 10-ton, 10-wheel drive, and M123A1 Charlie.
I don't know what all that means, but I could tell it's big, it's heavy duty, it's all business.
It was for hauling tanks or armored vehicles. I ended up getting it from my friend that had a wrecking yard. Cost me a searchlight off of a World War II destroyer that I had.
So, I mean, what's the end game? What's your ultimate plan for this fine
The end game, I'm going to use it as a fully self-contained all-terrain motorhome when I want to go camping and or four-wheeling.
Anywhere.
And pretty much anywhere if it'll fit.
I see. Every day is a new adventure. I never know what's coming through the door. You know the saying, necessity is the mother of invention? That was definitely the case with my electric dune buggy trick. I got two batteries in the passenger seat, a 6-volt and a 12-volt. What it's gonna do is give me the opportunity to choose a low gear and a high gear. I'm not that familiar with electricity. I am literally stabbing the terminal with a big old cable manually. Right-hand drive, ching. So we got a low gear, right? 6 volts. Then quick to 12. And we're off. You know, I really wasn't that nervous. I'm ready to go out at any time, you know. This dune buggy would be a great way to pass. I spent a lot of time indoors in the shop, so sometimes nature and myself don't see eye to eye.
Oh shit, there's wasps all over the place.
Yahoo!
I disturbed somebody's home. They've been in residence a long time.
As he's passing the fender down, he disturbs the hornet's nest that's underneath the second fender.
You didn't get stung, did you?
Ian's a big guy, but he moved pretty darn quick up to that land sea container.
My cat-like reflexes allowed me to avoid utter failure. I totally got shocked, you know? You're just moving along, doing your thing, and then, like, you know, total adrenaline rush. Here they come. Wow! Somehow I ended up on top of the shipping container with a broom in my hand, just like It's just reaction. With every project, you are looking forward to the first time you start it up, you know? Get that thing going and you're cruising the boulevard. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Holy shit. What do you got?
Nothing.
You got any rags or anything? And all of a sudden, it's like, this whole thing just starts up in flames, you know?
I've lit stuff on fire plenty of times. Something, I'll grab a rag, you know, casually walk around the shop. I turn my head and it's a blazing inferno. This thing's been dumping fuel the whole time it's been running. I whip my shirt off, I'm trying to snuff it. No dice, this thing is hot.
I guess you don't have a fire extinguisher, huh?
I got 3 fire extinguishers right on the wall, and I'm like, I don't want to mess up his bike. I know what these things do, so I'm just hoping it'll go out. And that sucker is flaming. It's 7 feet tall. I gotta use the extinguisher. I puffed it lightly, you know, just a little pop, went right out. Sure thing. In the end, we didn't melt anything really. Some of the insulation on the wires got charred up. It's not the end of the world.
I'm just glad you remembered you had a fire extinguisher. I was looking around all over the place.
No, I knew where they were, but I'm just like, I don't want to make a mess. It's only Kai's motorcycle. I don't want to dirty the floor.
Thanks a lot.
One of the most fulfilling things in all of these projects is that I'm kind of reliving childhood dreams. That way. It's like the magic carpet ride. I've been waiting my whole life for this. It's been said to me, if your 10-year-old self could see you now, would you think you're cool? The answer is yes. It's working. It's working. Even at 47, I'm still 10 years old deep inside. A lot of people forget that. Race cars, that's all I could say. Old cars going way too fast, I'm all about it. Modern stuff's one thing, but yeah, nothing says danger like speeding old vehicles.
My question for Ian is, where do you get your inspiration from? How do you still stick with using all the old school tools instead of working with modern day fabricating tools?
I find inspiration in everything. I've had the opportunity to get a lot of different high-tech equipment. I just haven't had the need for it. That's kind of the thing. I like handmade stuff. This van, it's coming together. I think I'm gonna just make 2 simple round tube bumpers out of this round tube. Tube bumper is super simple. I'm gonna use the stock brackets, trim them down, bend a tube to fit. It'll just be as wide as the van. So I'll cut it off right there and weld it on. This will just be complementary to this center detail. I just put end caps on the tube and sanding them down nice. And that's the story. The whole concept with these bumpers is not like off-road Thrasher tube bumpers. These are just little details that make it look like it's a finished piece. It's pretty simple, right? That took me about 1 hour. See, the whole thing here was like you had this big, bulky, squared-off bumper. Now you're just showing off the shape of the body. And that's pretty cool. My whole life is just looking for stuff to manipulate into these, you know, crafts projects I do. All the interior upholstery panels are going to Jack, but the headliner is not. This is gonna be the headliner, a 6-foot reed fence with natural finish. My plan here is to take this fence and stick it on the roof and make a nice headliner out of it. In the middle of it, if I start to think that it's kind of weird to use this, I know I'm on the right path. It's like Tiki Island in here. This is oversized, so I'm just gonna kind of creep it forward and trim as I go. Once I got the thing really stapled up to the windshield, I could tell it's gonna work. Okay, now I just trim the shrubbery. A little yard work, get the rest of the headliner in. How can you not like this? Using simple tools and simple materials, it really leaves the slate wide open. You know, working up at my friend Bill's on this truck project, his place is like junkyard heaven. He's got stuff all over. So in performing the tasks I needed to on his vehicle, you know, the sky was the limit. I've done a lot of body swaps. This is nothing new to me. The only thing is that it's bigger. I'm gonna widen these fenders 3 inches on each side. Bill's got a cool little license plate he wants to use, and I got an idea on how to incorporate a special frame into the front bumper. I guess the challenge is to find a piece that is strong enough to support the weight of the whole nose of the truck. Huh. I'd say that looks like a license plate frame. Some kind of piece of an old tractor. Recycle. The whole concept with reusing material is that it gives you something you couldn't have thought of in advance. That's my trip, man. That's what I like to do. Find something and make it work. This is gonna be a recessed shape for the license plate to hang out in. The bumper is convex, it's curved on the front. The lip is about the same as this, about 2 inches, but then it curls forward. So I just left a lot of extra material out here so I can just put each side of the bumper welded in here and it'll be real strong. We took his truck all the way. It's one of my favorite projects ever. Every time I see that truck, I like it more and more.
The question that I had for Ian was, where did it all start, man? Like, where did this creativity and fabrication skills come from?
For the most part, I went to welding school, got certified, and pretty much screwed up everything else until I came up with something good. That's the thing. I learned by failing. I screwed up a lot of stuff. Metalwork has always been my main thing, but you can't finish a car on metalwork alone. So every aspect of car building is pretty much self-taught. I've done a lot of reading, I've done a lot of watching professionals, and I just kind of twist it in my own way. Paint is one skill I've been trying to hone. I think the greatest blessing for me has been in that I've been able to work with some awesome painters, awesome fabricators, and just in being able to watch them at their craft has really upped my game exponentially. For the 70s trike I built, it was a basic fiberglass shape, and I just felt like it needed something to bring out the lines. I got all this Elastirap product from Eastwood. It's pretty crazy stuff. It's a liquid rubber coating that you can spray with a paint gun. So it's a sprayable rubber coating that is either permanent or if you prep the surface correctly, you can peel it off. I think it's gonna be perfect for this trike. I'm setting up a whole series of tape lines that are gonna accent these ridges in the body. I sprayed the whole thing silver, and just like most of the work I do, I stared at it. So that last line comes down like that, and that's there, and yeah, we got it. All right, it's the moment of truth. Oh, look at that. Quality control. Here he is. What do you think, man? I'm pretty happy with this. I think if I clear coat the whole thing with this really fine metal flake, it's just gonna give a little pop in the sunlight. The trike paint came out pretty cool, but it just made me want to be even more ambitious. I built the cartoon hot rod for my friend Mark. It was based on Johnny Jalopi's drawing, and I knew that I was gonna have to up my paint game to really get the look of those graphics. In an effort to stay true to the drawing, I had a guy who does stickers scan this into his machine and cut them out on his vinyl sticker cutter thinger. The whole thing with this project is proportion. If I just stuck a generic number 5 on the side, it wouldn't look like the drawing. So just like the rest of it, I'm gonna try to tailor this graphic on the door so that it fits the proportion of the vehicle, and I think that's just gonna nail it. I'm gonna use this template and make a stencil to paint the graphic on the car. It's basically a 3-color design, so I need to mask it off for that. This is the first time I met Johnny Jalopy. You know, he drew the cartoon Hot Rod, and right away we hit it off.
I could never imagine anybody taking a drawing of mine and building it in real life. Of course, it's a dream.
I sent Johnny a message, told him, hey, we're gonna build this thing. What do you think?
And at that moment, I was like, really? Are you kidding me? Cheesy to say a dream come true kind of thing, but you know, it is.
I'm glad that Johnny's on board. Super excited. It makes me really want to do this thing right and get all the details in order. The car turned out great. The paint helped sell the whole concept. Aha.
Hey, man.
Hey, what's going on?
Holy cow.
What do you think about that?
Kidding.
Johnny and I collaborated again. This time was on a personal project for me as the space junkie. With this project, I really wanted to push the limits, come up with a really unique paint scheme.
I'm a little nervous, way excited, because you know, we'll peel and pack just to see if the graphic worked. And the more that got peeled back, the more excited I got. You know, like it's gonna work.
Once I got the brown paint on, we pulled off the tape. It's looking good, but it's still kind of unknown until we get the second color in place. The whole design gets taped over yet again for another color.
This part becomes super critical, that we really are meticulous in making sure that the turns are good and the lines are crisp, because this is gonna be the graphic.
The next color was this cream tone, and that has the silver flake in it. We put that on, and you can really see the effect of the metal flake. Pulling off the last set of tape, you really see the contrast, and that's it. It's sparkly. It's like Las Vegas.
So we laid graphics down, we've got this cool chassis, and now it's the excitement of knowing that Ian always takes it to the next level. And what is that next level gonna be?
The paint job on that car was the icing on the cake. And I mean, that is what gave it the personal flavor. If we handed off the paint job to somebody else, it would have been a different car. Developing skills aside from metalwork really allows me to personalize every aspect of the build. In everything I've done, it's never looked the way I conceived from the start, and that's what I really like. No matter where I go, there's always one thing that people want to talk to me about. It's this lump.
Let's bring the dog. Should have brought the dog.
Love that dog, too.
I just totally love his dog.
When he first showed up, I thought he was going to be like a watchdog, you know, maybe just leave him in the shop 24/7, but that kind of didn't work out, so I'm always debating what his actual role here is. Finally settled on the title of shop inspector. He's concerned. What are you so concerned about? Do I got to give you the pep talk? Well, we do a bit of quality control here, and the dog is giving me kind of the eyes. So he gives it the sniff test, he's smelling the distributor, he's checking the oil, transmission. What do you think? It's gonna be all right? He approves. No? Uh-oh, hold on, something with the transmission. Like, remember what happened last time? I'm like, I know. On the last project I worked with Mark, he brought down an engine that had some hidden issues. Got bad memories. Now, sometimes there's a lot of judgment bestowed upon me, and you know, he's all love and licks one minute, and he's all criticism the next. You understand? It's pretty simple, but it works. I could see the concern in his eyes. He's got 2 long drool strings coming out of his cheeks, and that automatically is a cause for concern. And then he's given the shifter in the eye. You're not impressed. You're concerned? It looks unsafe? Don't drool on the primer. He's just checking out the block sanding. He's not very impressed. It's gonna get better, man. It's all a process. Just like any other car enthusiast, everybody's got their own personal favorites. Seeing what goes on around the shop sometimes, it's a little hard to handle. I think we're just gonna trade out somebody's water bowl. Here you go, drink up. Look at that. Now that is a shape. Stainless steel. You need this? I didn't think so. Not really sure what his favorite builds are, but 100% on what his least favorite was. This is being repurposed. It's just part of what we do here. I know, it's your favorite accessory, but look at that. You have that look of detachment in your eyes. It's time to grow up. It's time for a next chapter in his development. I can put some kind of a gauge right here on the space. This is gonna be painted and finished like the rest of the car. I'm just looking for the right shape. Don't look so concerned, man. I'll get you another one. Even though it pretty much hurt his feelings, in the end, he loved the dashboard. He's not really one for interviews. We're down the road on this crazy journey, and there's still a lot up in the air. One thing I do know is we're building a complete custom body on this car. We're just going about it in a slightly different way. Moved into a new lab, got a new workshop. The whole idea with this room is that you have plenty of clean floor space. One of the biggest challenges in everywhere I've worked is that there's always stuff, and I'm always trying to decrease the stuff. I got my tools, I got my dog, ready to rock. The whole idea with getting this in the room is now we are in the artist studio. I got the car up on these little roller dollies. We can spin it around, get up high, down low, nothing in the way. Because really, that's it. We gotta have that line, you know? It's gotta look good. Victor and I were up at Jean Winfield's. He had a whole bunch of fiberglass bodies, and I knew we had to go in that direction with this car. But Jean was molding cars that already exist, like a 51 Merc or a Ferrari F40, but we don't have that option. We have to create the car first. It's just like this car model. You know, imagine we had a full-size 57 Chevy, and we made a mold on it. We would end up with a car body just like this. We have to create our car body first. The cool thing is we can use any car part we want. We can customize it, hand shape it, whatever. It just has to be strong enough to build a mold on. We can move fast. We can make changes on the fly. We've never done anything like this before. I'm super excited. It's just gonna be a ton of work. The whole idea with setting up the car in the shop like this is it's gonna be a big debate between Victor and I as to how it turns out in the end. Set up these fenders just as a representation of something over the rear wheels. I know Victor loves the idea of this really low trough. You'll see the engine and the other components in here. This is directly in the way. First things first, I want to get into the rear portion of this design. Because it's a mid-engine, we both want to show that engine off, and there's a bunch of stock sheet metal I want to get out of the way, come up with some concepts for the back end. So this is an element of structure. I'm just gonna make it look way cooler. You can see now clearly the strut tower in here. And if you look under the hood of any front-engined, you know, car for the track, they'll have this flange that bolts on here and then a cross brace. So already you can see it's just, when you're looking at the engine, it's way better than looking at this big divider wall. What do you think? Dude's always on board, you know? He's 3 years old, he's getting himself into trouble, banging his head into stuff. He's always putting his nose in my business, and I'm sure he's totally liking the smell of the fine German machinery. We don't get a lot of that, and I think he's just taking it all in. Hey, what happened to your face? You were such a cute puppy. look like a Boxster. Getting all this metal cut out of the way, it's exactly what I was looking for. The engine will be exposed, but now I gotta put some structure in there, and I got a couple ideas how to make that happen. I know what Victor and I are going for in this portion of the car, and that is looking down into this and seeing a lot of cool stuff. Just like with all the supercars, whether we have glass or it's just open, it's gotta look cool. Right now it looks like a bunch of sheet metal that we cut out. Try to schnazzy it up a little. Now that I got all this metal cut out, my idea is to put in like an upper strut support. It'd be easy just to throw a piece of tube in there, but I want it to look cool. Race cars, they try to lighten everything up. I'm gonna do the same here. So that's the thing, I got the center marked here, and I'm just gonna go every 2.5 inches and scribe across, so 6.5 to 9. I'll just center punch, drill all these with a hole saw, and it'll just look like a nice lightened race car style bracket. I'm just gonna pre-drill these with a 1/4 inch hole and then hole saw it up to, I think, about 1 inch, whatever looks appropriate. Well, there you go. Now you got a bunch of small holes. Now I'm gonna make a bunch of big holes. The hole saw leaves a bunch of kind of scratch marks and loose pieces of metal hanging off, so the die grinder cleans all that up. There's a few different fittings on that tool. It goes from coarse to fine. In the end, you end up with something that looks like a piece of jewelry. It just looks kind of like a, If this thing's sitting on a table, you don't know what the heck it is. Is it a musical instrument? Is it a weapon? Is it an upper strut support bar? Who knows? So the last thing I want to do is put a finish on it. Eastwood's got this cool surface finishing tool. It provides like a brushed finish. You hear like brushed aluminum, brushed stainless, you see it on your refrigerator or something like that. And I'm gonna use that on this piece of tubing. That is pretty cool. Now I'm just gonna weld it into the car, figure out how that floor area is gonna be raised up. This piece needs to be super strong, so I made these gussets and I could weld them in on each side of the shock towers. The next step is twofold. I need to create somewhere to mount all of this rat's nest wire harness stuff and create something that looks cool that follows the design Victor and I are looking for. Paper templates are the time-tested thing for sheet metal fabrication, so that's exactly what's happening here. It's always easier to cut some cardboard than to waste metal. You got a little something hanging off your chin there. I love the idea of what we're doing here. It's because my thing with any hot rod is you got this big giant engine, you're seeing mechanical stuff. And that's what we're doing. We're chopping the car down so that the engine components can transfer to the outside of the vehicle. And that's cool. Just laying this cardboard in totally cleans up the rear view of the car. I'm pretty sure this floor shape's a keeper, but I need to come up with some kind of representation of how the walls are gonna turn down from the fenders within my 3,000-pound paper folding machine. It's always easy to pick out what looks terrible. You just gotta figure out how to sweeten it up, and that's exactly what this envisioning tool is going to provide. Ready to show this to Victor. We got a lot to discuss about the designs in this rear end.
Ian.
Hey, man. You found the place.
Yeah, I found it, man. What's going on? Wow, place looks good.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing I was saying, you know, new building, new project.
You know, I walk into the new shop, man. Ian's like all peppy, ready to go, just like he's inspired again. And now I'm starting to get inspired, going, hey, move over. I'm coming in. That looks good. The lines are lining up.
Yeah, it's all just kind of concept, you know, something to discuss. Aside from it looking so cool with structure, you know, these are springs under here. They're gonna wanna fold in. So I just support it like you would any race car, right? Came in with some gussets, really grabbed that.
Ian just telling me all this stuff, and I'm not really like taking it in. I'm like looking at the car, starting to focus on what else could we do to this thing. And he's talking and talking, and you talk all the engineering you want to talk. I'm thinking design, baby. I love that you got it down low. This Boxster was round.
Exactly.
Now we could achieve, you know, whatever vents or take the points down.
You know, all this aside, all we have is some structure back here and this surface height. We need to figure out what the look of the back of the car is. You know, you're describing some kind of sculpted thing. All I've established is measuring points. I mean, I can't do anything more until we figure out what the look is. You know, what the heck is you bring in for this part?
The mistake Ian made was he said, hey, you could bring anything you want. So, I mean, you can't tell me that. It's another piece to this puzzle. You know, 911 Carrera bumper.
Okay, I thought it was something you picked up off the street. Oh, I see, yeah. Porsche 911. I was a little concerned because he brings in a Porsche bumper. We're working with a Porsche. We're trying to make something that doesn't look like anything out there. So, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical.
I think it's gonna be too wide, but hey, you know what? What else is new, right?
Well, it's exactly what I'm doing here. You're just stacking stuff and seeing what works. And
Wow,
that's freaking wide enough, man. Look at that.
You know what? That thing ties right into the depth of the tires and everything.
Completely. I mean, it's one thing to just say, oh, well, oh yeah, it's a Porsche, it'll fit, but you got these massive tires and it actually works.
Once we put this thing up, it was like a revelation. It fit.
To just put a replacement Porsche part on it seems like not accomplishing anything, but this is completely different than any Porsche that I've seen. I mean, already I'm seeing lines coming off of this that make the whole back of the car start to appear. I don't know what you're seeing, but
I see now
pretty
from
cool.
this point, watch, stand here, I'm gonna show you what I see already. Now as you come in here, guess what? These are rolling. Guess where this fender's going? Straight to here. Look at this. Look at how this.
This is like a whole imagination station. That's exactly what it is, you know? It's like, imagine if we could do this and it felt like that, but it was more like this, etc., you know? He comes up with this dialogue and I cement some kind of a tangible thing, and then we modify it. What if we just took the Boxster fenders and just mocked them up? Maybe that curved shape can benefit us.
You're right.
I brought everything from the other shop. They're right here. If we're gonna go with this Porsche bumper, it's very round. It's in direct opposition to the faceted edges on this Sterling body. It's got me thinking about a couple other ideas. So you can see it's curved. It definitely takes over from that, but if we put it on, oh, look at that.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
It matches the diameter of the
Look
tire.
at this thing, huh? Look at this, huh?
That's pretty crazy. The rear bumper and the fenders are really a huge breakthrough because they're not the end result of what the style of the car is. We just need to create surfaces to sculpt off of. It's exactly what you're describing, man. It's like down, up, and over.
The lines are all there. I mean, now it's an open canvas. We have a lot of depth to work with, so.
This is exactly what I needed, man. I'm gonna show you a couple tape lines that I'm considering with the angle of these walls, because that rear deck portion is quick and easy. The main thing I wanna figure out is when you're looking at the car, what are the proportions? How does this engine bay get closed in? How does it flow into the rear quarter panels? Because that's a huge element of how the rest of the car is gonna be styled. So this is the angle both sides will be at. This will just get moved over, trimmed out. These are our dimensions, you know? None of this is gonna be visible in the end. This is just gonna be a rolling shape that comes right out of that trough.
Ian, what do you think about a slight curve on that?
Well, I got the slip roller. Let me put it in there and we'll see. Look at that.
Wow.
Totally good call. Oh yeah, that changed it from being a file cabinet to a sports car, man. Now you can see it won't be such a tight radius. It's just gonna flow right out, over, down into here, and then you already have your fender built. This is exactly what I needed. I was looking for that new thing that I had never tried before, and Victor's going all in on this. It's starting to turn into something really awesome. Well, if you're cool with that, I could build those panels out of metal and we could figure out what these fenders are gonna look like.
I can't wait to come back in tomorrow to see what he does with it. It just inspires me for the next part of this car. I got a whole bunch of more ideas on this car. We just started.
Starting to fit up the rear view of the car, and the first thing I wanted to accomplish was getting this driver's compartment separated from the engine compartment. I got this panel in before I could get this structure finished for the side pieces. These tubes here are going to be the support structure for the side panels we discussed. Victor's bumper idea, I think, is perfect, but what I had to do was suspend it and center it. I came in with some 3/4 inch steel tube and a bunch of small pencil rod, and now the bumper is mounted. This panel here is going to have a rear window in it, but I don't know how that's going to look until we get these sidewalls in. Victor and I are committed to this, so I'm gonna put the floor in and build the sides. I was thinking about some kind of access hatch here with a hinge, pretty techy to build. Victor said, why don't we just part it right on these two braces and this whole center panel just pulls out. I had all this scrap foam insulation outside, and by setting that up on the insulation, you can just run the jigsaw right through it. I'm gonna do this whole portion of the car in aluminum. My plan is that it's gonna stay with the chassis. It'll never be molded in fiberglass, so I want it to look really bright and cool. That's it. Piece of cake. So for now, these are just gonna get screwed down. It may hinge later, I'm not sure. The whole thing with these panels and them being aluminum is that it was my choice that they stay with the car through to the end as a showpiece. So to see them in place is pretty satisfying. Just can never, I need like a holster for my magic marker. Like, whoosh. That's it, I'm taking applications now. Anyone familiar with leather work or anything like that? I'm looking for something size quadruple X. Quadruple X so I can grow into it. My senior years. That looks pretty good. I think to set this thing off, I really want to rivet it together. It's going to give it a real industrial strength race car look. But because this is a concept, I'm just going to mock them up with these self-tapping screws. It's a perfect starting point because the hole will later just get riveted back together. There's the last rear pan where the bumper goes. It's just gonna slip right in underneath the other one. I know that this is not the finished product we're looking at, but you gotta start with a good base, and that's all this is. This is a background for whatever enhancements Victor comes up with. Came out to the Pomona swap meet with Victor. It's one of the largest swap meets there is. It's the go-to place to get what you gotta get. They have everything, including the kitchen sink. That's the deal. It's a full-on treasure hunt. Hey, what do you want for this box of books?
I'll take 10 bucks.
You'll get 10 bucks for that. It's my favorite show ever. For those that don't know, Monster Garage was like the show that brought the builders of the world onto television. Anybody who's anybody tried their mettle in the Monster Garage. We got the whole kit right here, man. This is gonna teach us how to build a custom car. This is awesome. I think we could just go home now.
We're looking for the lights, fenders.
Let's just try not to get distracted. There's too much here. I know how you get off on a tangent sometimes. Let's try to stay focused, man. We're on a mission. The main mission today is to just find shapes. You know, anything representing a fender line, a hood line, lights, who knows what's here. That's what it is, treasure hunt.
Now you know where I get all my crazy stuff.
Yeah.
This is like one of my main places to find all these parts that will fit any car that I got. Or
I
any
like
car
how
that
professional their labeling is. I mean, definitely hit a few walls with that spray can style, man. It's too perfect.
Here you go. Here's the radius of the front.
There's a million other shapes in the world. Just because it's an old Plymouth, you know. Try to detach yourself, man. We're on the better side.
Remember, we make old things back in the new things, and hey, that car would love to be a supercar.
Yeah.
When it grows up, it wants to be a supercar.
I know when we get back to the shop, I'm gonna see that next to it.
Check this out. I could be Ian Jr.
That one's even better than mine.
How do I look?
Can't get distracted, man. Stay focused.
This is my music, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin. How much are the gauges? Check out that Manny Moen jack. Hey, Dan, how you doing? I'm Victor. Hey, I know that you want 1,200. All I got is 800 bucks. I know I'm rolling the dice here. What do you think? No. 9, no? All right, well, we tried.
You gotta stay focused. Don't get distracted.
No kidding. Hey, I still am a collector of fine art.
I know. Victor's hearing what I'm saying. He's on the lookout for fenders. He called me over, he says he's got something.
There you go, Ian, check this out.
He pulls out these round fenders. I don't think he knew what they were. Right away, I spot them.
How much do you want for the fenders?
60 for both.
60 for both? That's a good deal.
The last thing Victor wanted was a Volkswagen involved with this car. Remember, we got rid of the whole chassis. Now he's picking up a couple of VW Bug fenders. He's going right back to where he started. So those are off a Volkswagen Bug. You said you're trying to get away from the VW stuff, but you know, I'm all about it.
Well, I don't know.
You don't want Volkswagen, you want a supercar, and then you're pulling out Volkswagen parts. It's like, just because I say anything goes doesn't mean anything goes.
I'll pick it, you make it fit, that's not my problem. We've already discussed that.
Yeah. Not only that, but walking around, we're in our element. You know, a lot of people who watch the show recognize Victor, and some of them even recognize me, which is even cooler.
Man, I like your program, man.
Thanks, glad you like it.
I
We're here
like
looking
this guy,
at
too.
Victor.
I own a nursery too, man, like you, man.
Where at? Maybe we could do business.
Probably Central Klamath area.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what do you got? You got a lot of native stuff?
Desert stuff? Oh, no,
All right, good, we'll do business. We even trade cars. We could even trade some cars.
You made my day, man. You made my day.
Right on. That's what we're here for. Well, we got books, we got gauges, I got a hat. We got everything but the fenders, man. Bottom line is, this isn't about the world's greatest swap meet quest. It's about building cars. You gotta get back to the lab. My friend Victor called me up about another development on a recent car project we had.
I said, hey, Ian, the Grand Nationals is coming up in the next couple months. It's one of the best shows in California. We need to get the T-Bird in there. He says, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that.
Victor's been a client for a long time. We made this bubble top T-Bird show car thing, full custom body, skirted wheels, hydraulic opening, clear plastic bubble top, just crazy, futuristic show car.
Once I started thinking about Grand Nationals, I said, hey, we need to change the look of this car slightly. So I said, hey, Ian, do you mind if we blow another bubble? His eyes like lit up and go, I don't know if it was a sign of happiness or a sign of, oh, shoot, what's this guy get me into this time?
Trying to create this clear plastic bubble top was a crazy ride. We figured it out very grassroots in how to accomplish this. Had a couple failures, a lot of research and development. The way that we have set up, it's very limited sight inside the oven. Until the thing cools off, you never know how it's gonna stay in shape. It's sort of a Wild West shootout trying to figure out when to turn the heat off, when to raise the lid, and you never know what you get till you take the box and open it.
The one we want to blow has got to be into proportion with what that car really is. It's a spaceship coming down to Earth.
This is Victor's mode of operation. He just does this with all of his cars. It seems like he just continually refines these vehicles until maybe he's happy, and then refines them again.
I know the car's going to get a lot of attention because it's unusual. They're going to go, why would this man do this to this car? And I'll just say, hey, well, Ian told me to do it.
I'm really excited to get this thing to the level where he wants to show it. And hey, what's not to like about an awesome car show? I get over to Victor's and he's got the whole T-Bird torn apart. It's taken back down to primer and it's like Groundhog Day. It's like I'm revisiting ground we've already covered.
Just like all my projects, I'm my worst critic. I mean, everyone thinks it's done, and I'll say it's done, but in my mind, what if? So there was a lot of what ifs on this car. My idea was lower in the front, bigger bubbles in the back.
We got the classic setup. We got the barbecue grills, we got the wooden buck, and we got the box set up, just like we did the other bubbles. We're gonna blow one more bubble and try to refine it just a bit more. Practice leads to perfection. So we kind of revisited all our issues with the earlier model and stepped it up big time. Way more structure, new wood, stainless steel. Victor's bringing in his backhoe this time. You can see his game is in serious mode. None of these flimsy contraptions to lift the unit, full hydraulic power. It's on. At this point, all the preparation is prepared. Nothing to it but to do it. Light this thing and let's get it on. It's really hard to compare this to anything else. It really is more a leap of faith than any other contrived recipe. I know the scenario that goes on. You heat the plastic up and you get a shape, but none of them have come out the same, so I don't know how to dial this process in. I just know we get some kind of result every time. All right, everything's on low, box is shut. Victor's the main cheerleader in this event. He's convinced that it's gonna happen, but I'm trying to come up with a defined result. That's the real challenge.
Are we ready to fire her up or what? And I said, well, let's go for it. And go, 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 go. And he said, slow down. I said, no, Ian, we already know how you've already done 3 or 4. This one should go easy.
Well, we got kind of a weird issue. Look how wrinkled up it's getting. You know, we rebuilt all this and insulated it so good. It's on low and we're already at target temperature after 15 minutes.
He's got his little heat measuring mechanism or device, you know, going all around. He goes, oh man, this thing's heating up too fast.
This is where the alarm bells start to go off. When you change one thing, you change everything. We refined the whole unit and now all the calibration is off. We're at 330. Sides though, where we really want it to come up are only at 320. So the center of it's definitely hot, but the sides aren't. Well, we're not getting consistent heat. The back is 20 degrees cooler than the front. We're just having inconsistent heating issues here. You know, one minute I feel like we're winning, the next minute we're failing. I'm adjusting the grills. I'm trying to adapt to the current conditions. Bottom line is the plastic is heated up. We gotta do it right now. We got one last shot at this, so it has to be right. It seems to be doing what we want. All we gotta do now is pull it out and see. Oh!
Captain, did we get it?
We maximized our potential. leaving it up here for a few. I'm gonna let this thing cool down.
It's good, it's just the top bubble needs to go in just a little.
You want it to be a little bit smaller?
Yeah, a little bit smaller on the top bubble.
Everything looks good. Victor is looking it over. He wants the front of the bubble to be a little bit smaller, so I gotta let some air out of it.
Yeah, I think it's about there.
We pull it out of the oven, and in looking it over as time passes, it's deflated. We lost all that definition, man. Let's try to blow it up again. It all went away. I took a shot, tried to add more air to it, but it's already hardened. It's not blowing back up. Ah, man, we didn't get it. It's off the buck. There's no more shape in the back. I think it's a loss. We get the bubble out of the oven, and it's not only deflated where he wanted it to, but it deflated where we don't want it to.
And at this point, you know, I just look over at Ian and I didn't know if there's anything more he could do to save this bubble.
It's cooling off at a rapid rate. Last ditch effort, the only thing I can come up with is put it back in the oven. Try to reheat it, try to save it.
Ian said, turn the barbecue grills back on. We're gonna reheat this thing and inflate it again.
I know this is our last try at this. It's our last sheet of acrylic. I'm not giving up. We gotta get this. Victor's a great client because at times like this, he keeps his head together. Somebody might fall apart in a crisis situation. This is how he rolls.
I'm that guy that just thinks these crazy things up in hope they work. I mean, I'm even crossing my fingers now. Where we're gonna end up, nobody knows.
I think Victor's kind of an adrenaline junkie. He just likes to go for it. I'm running around trying to get this thing heated evenly and then slowly let the air in. It looks like it's working. Seems to be doing just what it did before. It's taking its shape again. It's a good sign. Just gonna let it cool like this and not take the air off until it's solid. I am totally lucky that this thing reinflated. Completely dodged a bullet. It was a total fail. Looks like it's gonna recover.
And I'm glad that we did what we did because originally the front bubble was too big. It was gonna look like a baseball cap. And it did deflate probably 2 or 3 inches.
Way better, yeah. Victor and I are walking around looking at it, and it seems like we got what we needed, but you never know until it's out of the box and right side up. Victor's got his measuring tape, getting all science on it. I'm not gonna be convinced till we see it on the car.
It's like, what the hell is that? Hey, it's some kind of cocoon alien being coming down to Earth to visit Trump.
Just like with the setup, there's a lot of tear down. Now let the thing cool, unbolt it, unscrew it from the backboard, trim it out before you could even see it in place.
This is it.
It's our last chance.
It's this or nothing. We go and put it on top of the car. No one says nothing. It's like, I didn't want to look at him. He didn't want to look at me.
This is a really crazy shape. Bringing it in next to the car, checking it out. It's definitely wild. I just don't know if we need it that wild. Firstly, we're trying to create this unique shape that no one's ever done. And secondly, we're trying to make the car look better for it. So it's kind of a twofold approach.
The ribs I love, but to me, the car's got a flow. The back flows, it's a little high on the front.
I'm not sure it's working.
And I said, Ian, you achieved what I wanted you to achieve, but it doesn't go into proportion with the car. It's flowing in the back. To me, this should be coming from this point. Just because Ian wanted a bubble and a bubble and a bubble and a bubble,
I couldn't live without
he
it.
gave me all these bubbles, and I'm like, no, I don't know. I have one too many bubbles.
Sometimes bigger isn't always better. I mean, it's an amazing plastic sculpture for sure, but it sort of dwarfs the proportions of the vehicle itself. I got an idea that just might remedy the situation. Looking at this latest bubble on the T-Bird, I'm not sure it's working. I got an idea that just might remedy the situation.
Whenever he says he has an idea, I don't know what to expect, but I almost know it's a solution.
Sometimes you gotta take things to the extreme to realize it may not be better. The whole grass is greener on the other side scenario sometimes doesn't stand up. Got me thinking about one of the earlier ones we made. The second bubble we blew was actually really nice. It was almost like a chop top. It was pretty low, super streamlined, just a perfect shape.
Ian said, hey, remember the second bubble we did like a while back? I said, yeah. And luckily, I don't want to say hoarder, but I don't get rid of nada.
I told Victor about my idea to use that bubble, and he ran with it.
Now that we got this old bubble, it has a different flavor. Now it even goes more into the spaceship looking kind of deal. So I'm thinking, hey, I'm gonna redo the paint. I call my airbrush guy, you know, the wrap guy. I'm gonna change this thing all up.
Victor had some really cool paint ideas, and that just set it off.
I'm really looking forward to taking this thing to the Roadster show, just to show off the design that we did on this car, just out of this world.
It's a 3-day event. Victor's gonna get here over the weekend. I wanted to get here right off the bat. As soon as the doors open, before it gets too crowded, I wanted to check this car out. Finally got this car finished. The reason we decided to go with the smaller bubble is it just looked more streamlined. We made all those crazy accomplishments with the ridges and everything else, and in the end, we just felt like maybe that showed the car off better. It's got a really slick, low, streamlined look. The show just opened. We got loaded in. People are on their way. I'm interested to see what the response is. The cool thing about this car show is everybody's here. A lot of old friends. Rich Evans, Jean Winfield, all the folks from the magazines, a lot of folks that watch the TV show. My friend Bill's even here. He's a client I'd worked with on a few projects in the past. He's checking out the bubble top and he's all questions.
This looks different than when I saw it.
Yeah, he keeps changing it. The main thing people are asking besides what is it is why the heck does it look so different from the prior build on the TV show? The answer is Victor. He's always changing his mind.
I hate to say it, but Victor, you keep doing better.
Well, that's the thing. He's never done with this thing, so.
Looks great.
For me, the choice in the bubble seals the deal. This car looks fast, standing still. Victor topped it off with this amazing graphic, the vinyl wrap, and then he candy clear coated over it. The car really looks 10 miles deep. Enough of this T-Bird. I mean, I've freaking labored over this thing for years. It's nice for me to see it complete. I'm here for the car show. I want to see what's fresh and new. There's every different style of car here. The one thing in common is that they're all super refined. This is a top-notch event. Gotta check out the lowriders. This is where it's happening. I'm just always fascinated with the paint jobs on these cars. The hours they just spend on a paint job, it's like it takes as long to build a car as it does to paint it. Look how the pinstriping just freaking lights up on this. It's out of control. Look at the engine lid on this thing. That's probably vacuum form, but the same thing, it's definitely acrylic. Early blown VW engine. That's freaking epic. It's like a bubble top for the engine. There's tons of 50s cars here. You know, that's when the scene was really in its heyday. So the Tri-5 Chevy exhibit is in this building, and you can see they got them dialed in. In a room full of Tri-5 Chevys, guess which one I'm looking at? Oh yes. This is my pick. This is a car built by Gary Wales. I was introduced to him at the Pasadena Art Center show. If you don't know his name, look it up. He's incredible. He should have a show, not me. Built these giant vehicles out of antique truck parts. He builds hot rods out of super nice, like Rolls-Royce parts. Just incredible craftsman. When I grow up, I want to be just like him. The Amber Award is not a color, it is an acronym. America's Most Beautiful Roadster. That's what the Amber stands for. And it's like the world-class, best of the best, most beautiful roadster. This room is all the Amber Award contenders, and if I had to pick one, this is my pick. Well, this thing is completely customized, every bit of it, but I like the fact that it doesn't try too hard to look expensive. It's easy to just get carried away with $1 million schemes, and this thing is just classy. This is what we need more of. Walking around the show, I mean, there's a lot of nice stuff. It's also pretty predictable. I walk up on this one thing and I don't even know how to react. I've never seen anything like it. Whoever built this car is my hero. It's got a bar, it's got a telephone, it's got a chauffeur seat. This is the epitome of pimp styling. This makes me want to dress in a white tuxedo and entertain the ladies. What were they thinking? I need to know what they were thinking when they made this. This is one of those crazy 1960s concept cars. This is from the World of Wheels car show circuit, so it was really just like crazy stuff to get people in the door. So you see this thing on a poster and everybody wants to go to the show. The company that's doing all these restorations is Galpin Autosports. They have a whole showroom. It's like a giant museum of awesomeness. This is the ugliest car Ed Roth ever built. It's the Orbitron. From concept to completion, it changed somewhere, and now it's iconic, fully restored, kind of the missing link in the Roth series. This show is off the hook, top-notch stuff. Pink Panther car made my day. My job is done here. Victor told me to meet him at the shop. He's driving it. And seeing this car in the sunlight, it freaking pops. This thing looks even better in the sun, man. Wow. You don't get it in the building, you know? The freaking thing lights up.
It runs pretty good too. I almost got in 3 accidents coming home. I knew I shouldn't have drove it. Check it out. Here's our placing.
You said you won an award. Wow.
Yeah, we
what the
won.
Heck, first place.
And hand-built customs.
There's a lot of competition in that room.
Like crazy.
There was a lot of high-end cars there, so I mean, to even place would have been an honor. First place is kind of like, wow. What else was in that class?
Well, we were in the honor of Mr. Jean Winfield.
True fact of the matter is Jean wins either way. He's the guy that showed me how to do the bubble top, so he takes some pride away from this whole thing too, because it's like, you know, kind of took me under his wing, showed me how it's done, and it's a great car as a result.
Hey, I mean, you deserve that, the effort. I mean, you built this thing, what?
4 times.
4 times, well, let me see, 1, 2, yeah, only 4 times.
Right. I really am breathing a sigh of relief for Victor, because this is like his payoff, you know, he's all about showing his work. Finally, we get some kind of end to this quest, and he gets a trophy out of it.
Thanks for all that help, man. Look at what
it's freaking great.
We did. You building it, me with a little bit of input.
Yeah, the thing you have is the tenacity, man. You just keep freaking doing it, you know? When I'm done with a car, I walk away from it. You just keep hammering it on this thing. Now that the car's outside, standing back and looking at it, this top was the right call. That's the thing, it didn't need all those ridges, man. This side profile with the way the windshield area comes in and then it flows right out the back. This is the right call, man.
She looks like she's going at a standstill.
And these stainless trims, this is the call. That seals the deal that there was never any doors on the car, man. Looks great. Hopefully we don't see this car a different color tomorrow.
Not for at least 6 months, I promise you.
That's the big thing about car shows. You get all charged up. You see everybody throwing their ideas out on display, and it just gets me thinking about the next project. I want to get something going to top everything we've done ever for the next stuff. I mean, this car is pretty far out there, man. How are we going to top it?
Well, Ian, we got this far. You won first play. All the little stuff we changed on it through its evolution. Now what?
This whole project started because I was looking to do something that I had never done before. And this project has evolved into something a little more than that. Now we're building an entirely custom car body, and we're building a fiberglass mold on top of that. It's gonna end up kind of like a model car, except full size. It sounds simple, right? We got our work cut out for us. We made great progress on the rear end of this car. Pulling that Porsche bumper really streamlined the effort. Coming around to the front end of the car, there's absolutely nothing there. I've never built a car like this. We're doing it kind of piece by piece, but in the end, the car has to look like it was a solid design from the beginning. What really set the pace for the look in the back was just starting off with something, you know, some shape to represent the flavor. I'm really hoping we can get some kind of shape that ties this front end to the back. Victor asked me to meet him in his yard. He said he's got some ideas set up.
Let's see what we could find. I had the guys just put all like the fenders and the bumpers together.
Oh, I see.
Look around and pick what you think we could use, and let's start from there. I called Ian to come out to look at my scrap yard to see what we could use for the fenders. Before I go out buying something, I figured, hey, I know I got something laying around.
Walking around Victor's yard, I know what to expect. It's not exactly a scrapyard full of exotics.
Check it out, you recognize these?
So we're walking through, and the first thing he points to is instantly recognizable. It's a Volkswagen fender. The VW, you know, I don't know, it's got a weird vibe on this project.
I don't know what this is, but we don't put it like this. You kick it up and bulge it upward. You know, it looks kind of small.
Yeah, and all these freaking 40s fenders.
They're Zephyrs.
They got the shape, but they're just way too big. A modern thing like this would definitely work better. I told Victor we could use any body panels we want, but they actually have to be the right contour, the right panels, so we can achieve the design we're looking for.
I got some other stuff in the corner there. Let's see what we got there. I've acquired 25 years worth of stuff. My wife calls it junk. I call it treasures.
Oh yeah, I recognize the remnants of this car, but see, this is kind of the thing I was thinking. See, this is a way more modern looking fender lip opening.
But that's too square. I'm just looking for that round fender point. I just need the point. This could be closer to it, but even this doesn't have enough roundness to it. You know, I know these parts are pretty rough. I mean, like really rough. But hey, with Ian, you never know what he comes up with. Yeah, check these ones out. This, I think, would be more like it. I don't know what this is from. It's probably a newer, I don't know what these are.
It looks like they got caught on fire.
Yeah.
What the heck, both of them?
Yeah, got a little fried there.
It's got these two burned up fenders. Even though they're not really pretty, they do have a more modern look. The Zephyr and the VW were very exaggerated, and these are a little more streamlined.
It wouldn't sit like this. There again, we kick it up. You know, you open this up so it goes around the tire, and we got this little arch here so we could go down with the hood. That may be something you could work with. What do you think?
Victor's got a lot of wild ideas. You know, he's totally shucking and jiving. He's giving me the sales pitch of the century, saying we can pull this off with the parts that he's got. We just got to get him in the shop, see what happens.
Just like everybody says, hey, if you build it, I will come. If I give you the points, Ian will make it work.
Right.
That's my philosophy.
Here he goes. He's pulling me into another three-ring circus. Well, what's up with this bumper here? What the heck's this about? Building projects like this behind my back?
It's something I picked up at Pomona. I mean, the price was right, I didn't need it, and I bought it.
Looking at this bumper Victor has, it's definitely from a tuner car. It's not really the flavor we're going for, but it just might be a starting point. I don't know if this will just fit right on the car, but it's like the rear bumper. It's a perfect starting point. You know, we'll change the styling somehow, but it's already a fiberglass bumper.
All right, let's try that out. I'll grab
Yeah,
the
you got
two
two
fenders.
fenders in this. I mean, see what it does. Pretty loose looking pile of parts we got here. There is some potential, we just got to get it in the shop and see. We made our selections and brought all these parts back in the shop to see. We're working with nothing here, blank slate. The first order of business is to try to mock up some parts. The Sterling's square, and that's just not what we're going for.
You see, 'cause, I mean, everything's out of proportion, but the way I seen it was like this. I'm just looking at this point going down into the hood. All this will be discarded. This is all I'm looking for, and actually up higher.
The whole style of the front end we're trying to create here is sort of like raised fenders, super low hood height. Put these burned up fenders on the car, and it's sort of the direction we're looking to go. These are already way better than the Sterling because they're so much rounder. You know, we're getting away from this flat, faceted shape, and you got an arch, man. It's working.
It kind of fits. This is how Henry Ford did it.
I'm sure. The only thing he didn't have was cordless tools, man. The concept we're creating here is nothing different than any customizer's ever done since all this started. You know, you have some handmade stuff, but you're using production pieces and you're warping them into your own new flavor. I mean, looking at the rear fender, you know, again, you're gonna enhance it a bit, but it's a way better starting point than that flat Sterling thing. And still, I know you're gonna want it way more up in the center, but see how we can just do the same thing as the rear, just pie cut it, segment it, pull it down, and we'll just have to add some kind of curvature to the top. I can see these fenders getting us to where we need to go, but I really want to put on the nose piece too. You know, it's all got to work together. It's pretty loose, man. It's the face only a mother could love.
Yeah, to be frank, it's terrible.
I think the clinical term would be butt ugly. This front bumper isn't really what we can use. I mean, in the end, it's kind of less than spectacular. It's, for now, I'm gonna call it a placeholder.
It's out of proportion. The fenders, something doesn't feel right.
They did look curved out in that lot, but once they're here on the car, they appear pretty flat. These burned up fenders kind of have the look, but they're not really offering us that arched fender that comes down into this valley area in the hood that we're looking for. I'm gonna lay a sheet of aluminum in there, just try to visualize what these contours can offer potentially, and just see if it's gonna work. I get what you want to modify here, but there's still something about this transition that's bugging me. Putting these parts together, you know, it's a base, it's a starting point. I'm just kind of not feeling it. I'm just wondering if there's other options. You know, all this is really good developmentally, but we're using kind of passenger car parts. You were looking for the exotic stuff, you know, maybe the Porsche thing isn't that bad of an option. It worked,
the original ones, right?
It worked great in the back. You know, it's just a way more bulgy shape. It, you know, might just add to this. The whole thing with a solid mock-up is the light bulb goes off, right? Ideas start flowing, and it's just not happening. What we need is something that gives us the green light. I mean, this is a way more sporty shape than the stuff we're working with. Look, the light almost wants to be there. And we don't want to give a Porsche look away, but.
I like the position, the way you positioned it. It just, the lights are bothering me. It's not what I'm envisioning.
Yeah, I agree. They're a dead giveaway. You don't want it to look like a Porsche, so I'm trying to figure out how to cheat it a little, you know? Car's definitely wider than it was, so kind of change the angle a bit, you know, exaggerate the proportions, and it might work. This is way more representative of that transition to the valley you're talking about. I mean, maybe a Porsche fender is kind of the best option.
Yeah, and then once the light comes off and then all this metal comes all the way down and meets the bumper, then whatever light we decide to put in here, and there's my valley, right?
Sure.
There's my valley.
Yeah, maybe just tape over them, primer them like we did the back, just gray it out. These fenders seem like a good choice. I'm gonna mock them up, rough out some tape lines, just kind of see what it's gonna have to offer three-dimensionally. Victor's big concern is that he doesn't want this to look like a modified Porsche. You know, we're using these parts, but in the end, I'm sure it's gonna look like one of a kind. I could see that working, man.
It's nothing that I would take home to my wife at this point.
You know, one step at a time, man. Nobody said it was gonna be easy. I know Victor's pretty nervous about this mock-up. It's totally loose. I got a couple ideas. I think we could pull this off. I just gotta pull another rabbit out of the hat. Got a general idea of how this thing's gonna look. First thing I need to do is trim off a bunch of the material from the front of the roof. This is just like the trimming back of a freaking shrubbery. You get rid of the stuff you don't want. This whole roof shape is gonna change. But again, the parts that are critical that Victor wanted are still intact. Victor's always about the inspiration, so he's brought in a number of inspirational reference points. I got a couple of other ideas for him. Shop inspector's never seen anything like this. You know, we go for rides in cars all the time, and now he's like a giant monster looking at this vehicle. If there's one thing I know, this dog loves treats. Supercars. Super dog food delivery. Aside from all the busy work, you know, we got a car to build, on to the next. First thing I want to do is get rid of these headlights, cut them out. I definitely want to do something way different on the nose of this. This is way better than those other funky parts. These fenders are just perfect. Because of the rim and tire selection, you know, the fenders were not going back in their stock place. So what I did was I moved them out, changed the angle a little bit, raised them up. So, you know, even though they are Porsche fenders, they're nothing like it if you put it side by side. It's pretty impressive. But again, there's a giant hole in the car. I'm thinking about one thing that just might work. There's one thing about that Sterling is it does have the flavor of what we're looking for. Just like with everything else, I'm gonna use the portions of it I think will work and cut out the rest. Love this surface. You can see we're right on this area Victor said he was committing to. This height flows perfectly up into here. Right here it starts to rise up, and that's the area that is a foul. Like with all the other components on this car, you know, we're trying to make it our own. The Sterling hood's getting trimmed way back. I'm just using the portion of it that represents the profile I'm looking to achieve. Perfect. It's very curved, even though it made it look flat to the eye. And by screwing it down, it gives us a perfect transition to these fenders. Just by removing the scoops and kind of trimming it back a little, I think this hood's gonna work. I just need to make some simple structure to attach everything, and then it's on to finish work. Using these aluminum sheets, it's the same process as in the rear, just trying to create a contour, something to build off, and the look that I want. Being that this car is gonna have a mold on it, in the end, the construction here, anything goes. It's purely a mock-up. Now we're getting somewhere. This is all about the concept. I'm gonna tape some of it up, spray paint it, sit back, check it out. Getting these fenders mocked up, I really see the potential of this valley and hip fender aspect Victor was trying to get his point across about. I see a issue with that bumper Maybe that one's not the right call for the car. We're gonna have to figure that part out. I'm positive this bumper is not the right look, but what it's offering is a structure to build off of. Welded in this mounting bar to support the bumper, but I definitely have to widen it. One thing I've learned from chopping up a lot of cars is to retain the look of the thing, you section it. It's gonna cut both ends off and widen them out independently. As crazy as this sounds, my whole idea here is to just sheet the thing with aluminum. You know, we'll have a blank slate and we can work forward from there. If you hold your hands just right and squint hard enough, it's really starting to look like something. And that looks pretty cool. I like the way this is shaping up. We're gonna match the other side and we're gonna get a lot closer. This car is definitely looking a lot different than the last time Victor saw it, and I am curious of what his thoughts are. Before Victor gets in, I really wanted to nail this concept, so I went ahead and did some finish work. I laminated the aluminum and the fenders with fiberglass and then went over that with body filler and, starting to present a finished surface. I took a bit of a leap of faith on all the work on the hood. I hope Victor likes it.
Ian, what's going on?
Hey man, just fleshing this thing out.
Wow, what a difference. Last time I seen the car, I was having nightmares because the car wasn't quite coming out the way I see it. I love the lines, and there we go again. We got the fenders going down, I got my valley, then it looks like it ties in with what's going on in the back.
Yeah, that skirt was just a generic layup for me to get some symmetry in the thing. That other tuner car bumper is a little strange, so whatever you want to do, man, it's ready. Victor loves the idea of the blank slate. Setting it up like this just gives you every opportunity to discuss more design.
I was so tripped out last night when I woke up, man. This morning I got out of bed and I've been shopping. I need to get a front end on this thing, and I looked at 20 different styles and I think I found the right one.
Victor says he's got something else to add to the car. I never know what to expect.
All right, I'm gonna go grab it out of my truck.
At this point, I'm thinking, hey, it could be anything. Hopefully it's not a new rear bumper.
Ian, check this out. You won't believe where I found this.
What the heck is that off of?
It's a Lamborghini front end.
Wow.
Found a Lamborghini junkyard.
A
Don't ask
Lamborghini
me
junkyard.
what year.
This is not what I was expecting at all. You see, I'm going about it with a bunch of aluminum foil and body filler, and he pulls out the supercar card. That's good stuff. It's not what I was expecting. Expensive.
My back pocket's hurting. There's nothing here. Look.
Wow.
Does that look familiar?
Wow. You're going for
That's
it, man.
it.
That's the right call.
That's all I got left.
The other thing looked kind of like a Honda tuner car. This thing is nasty. I love the way that those two things come together. You don't get that when it's separate.
And there's your vents. That'll work for the two radiators on each side, right?
For sure. That thing's mean.
Hopefully it fits and we don't have to hack it up like the other one.
Just mocking up this Lamborghini nose, it's the look, It's night and day between what we're starting with, that tuner car bumper, and this. It's like a super aggressive, really low. It's just a whole higher level of design.
Sometimes I come in with something or use stuff I have laying around, and I gotta really pitch these to them. So I walk in with this Lamborghini front end. I knew I wasn't gonna have to pitch too hard.
On its own, it looks freaking awesome, but to get it to fit with the car, we're gonna kind of have to change everything. We're gonna have to blend out all those hard edges. We're gonna have to cut back 90% of the work I just did. I got a couple ideas, man. The thing is, just get out the tools and try to make it work.
But anything you cut off on this thing, could you save it so I could at least hang it on my garage wall?
Yeah. To get this Lamborghini nose on the car, I gotta undo a lot of the work I already accomplished, but hey, that's part of the mock-up. This design is really worth the extra effort. Victor's kind of sweating it, you know. He doesn't want to risk these parts. He doesn't want to see me just chop them apart. I'm gonna send him packing, take a little of the pressure off, and get to work. I was having trouble conceptualizing what the nose of this car was gonna look like. Victor comes in with the heavy-hitting part. These pieces nail it. My idea is heavy surgery. I'm gonna cut back everything I just did, splice this piece in, remount it, blend it together. And fitting up this nose, just trying to make it look like one piece. Somebody's gonna not be able to realize that it's 5 different concepts all mashed together. Definitely cutting off this edge here. So I put 2 fasteners, one on each side of that. I'm gonna cut this right off. When I blend it together, all this hardware disappears. Pretty much, the surface does this. I don't know if you can see it, but I can. The whole thing with this process is it's kind of so reaching in the dark, you know? It's just looking for these little glimpses of hope to carry you through, because trust me, this isn't easy. This is like the challenge of a lifetime, and we're going about it pretty haphazardly. To fill in these gaps, the same process as with the fenders, just some aluminum sheeting, fiberglass, filler. You know, one thing I've always wanted to do is, you know, build complete car bodies in the style of Ed Roth, and you know, this is very similar to that. Glomming a whole bunch of stuff together, no matter what it is, and then making a mold on it. The thing with the mock-up is it's about visualizing if you can move forward, you know. So taping it up, spraying it gray, it gives you a perfect representation of a yes or no to your question. This is why I'm doing this with the gray stuff. So you kind of sit back, look at it, it's gonna work. You know, you got 2 drastically different styles in the bumper and the fender design, but we're gonna do a little deletion of both, defining ridges, kind of right in there. One thing about transplanting this nose piece on it is it doesn't really work with the ridges on top of the fender. The look of the other car was defined by these really sharp cuts in the body panels. This one doesn't have any of that. So I'm just gonna cut this off right here, and the filler's gonna delete this rise. The filler's gonna come right up and over. So you won't have this or this. That's the plan, and I'm sticking to it. Victor gives me all these exotic car parts, and I get to destroy them. It's the best job I ever had. In trying to make this thing look a little less identifiable, on the side vents, you know, we softened the edges on that, trying to get away from that, round it off a little bit, and make it our own. I'm really happy with the progress we made on the front of the car. The nose looks awesome. It's really gonna define the styling for the rest of the car. The roof needs a ton of work, and there's no sides on the car. We got a huge challenge ahead. We are moving along with this build. Because we're gonna make a mold of the entire car in the end, it's been kind of an unusual process. It's allowed us to use a lot of different pieces from different cars. Some good, some not so good. But at the end of the day, I gotta make it work with the design we're going for. That's my favorite thing about customizing, is that you take something that exists and you make it your own. It's definitely a challenge. Front end of this car is pretty much redefined. I really like the concept with the fenders we're using so far. The challenge was getting it to match this new Lamborghini style nose. The crazy thing is I think I got away with this. Putting the Lamborghini nose on here was a real hard mend with this contour, but by using these lenses, it really helped this flow right down into the steep angle of the nose. It's pretty cool, huh? Because you can see now, just another clay model representation. It's probably the headlights. If you see the lenses, then you'll understand. These plastic lenses, they really helped me create this symmetry because I have definite mounting points and angles to contour the fenders off of. The reason I wanted to use these was because this curvature here, you can see it gives the fender a reason to flow right down into that steep angle from the other nose piece. You could go any direction with the headlight choice, you know, something super expensive, maybe even Lamborghini headlights. I went to the local scrapyard, looked around, and found something I could modify to work. The thing I saw firstly was this cool shape. I don't know how to describe it, but what I like most, it's got a really modern projector-style headlight bulb in there, and we could modify anything inside this housing. I don't know how Victor's gonna feel, but to me, look at this. This is a really unique-looking lizard-faced car. It's pretty awesome. Needed some kind of symmetry, so I was able to make a template off of this grill opening, and that gave me the angle and the distance from this shape here, and then just flip it, and that's how you get the symmetry. I was using these as tools, but in the end, they look pretty darn awesome. Cool fact of these headlights is they are production car parts. They got some numbers on them. I'm sure we can get a duplicate set. It's a really unorthodox way to build a car. We've never done it like this before. I just hope we can tie it in as the end time comes, because it's pretty loose. There's two giant holes in the side of the car. Just don't look at that, don't look at the roof. The nose looks good. The big challenge in this whole thing is that we're kind of just coming up with one aspect of the build at a time. It's almost like charades. In other words, I have a piece and I'm explaining, you know, sounds like this, feels like this, and Victor comes up with what he hopes is a solution. Or versa versa. Victor brings in some stuff and I gotta figure out how to put it together. This nose piece is completely void of any grill or insert. You know, I'm working on the headlights, the upper side of it. The wheel arches need to get fit in as well. You can see that this wheel arch opening definitely is not gonna be okay. It's way too far out. I got an idea that just might fix the problem pretty easy. Victor's showing me all these old parts laying around the yard, you know, and he's optimistic. I'm thinking these burnt up fenders are worthless. It turns out I need this shape for this task. I got your fender arch right here. Anything goes in this mold process. All we need to do is create a shape. It could be foil back there, t-shirts, newspapers. As long as the surface looks nice, we can mold on it. This nose is really coming together. Victor's coming in. We gotta design this grill opening because that is gonna make or break the look of the car.
Ian, what's going on?
Hey, hey. These occasional visits by Victor is kind of like the shop manager coming in and checking on the employee's progress. I think it's essential that he's here during the whole thing.
Wow, what a difference. That's amazing. You blended in that Lamborghini front end like perfectly.
It's good to see that Victor's happy with the front end. I showed him my idea for the headlights and I could see his wheels are turning. He's kind of liking the idea.
Yeah, no, that's gonna look awesome, man. Look at that. It's gonna give you that like mean look. And what I love about what he did when he contoured the hood in the headlight, it gives you this like round fender, just sleek, like made for speed, you know, supercar speed. This guy nailed it again.
So, as usual, you told me what to do and I did my own thing anyway. So I moved the nose in a little bit shorter.
Yeah, I noticed you took about 6 or 8 inches off. Remember, I wanted this thing to go like this, and then now it just goes like this.
Victor is all about proportion, and he was coming up with these numbers that just didn't jive to me. So most of the time, I just have to do what I see fit at that moment. You know, the great question, what would Ian do? I just ask Ian and do it.
You didn't cut it, did you?
After all that labor and accomplishment, Victor's only got one thing on his mind, and that's like, did you cut the Lamborghini front end apart? Fortunately, I know I didn't have to do that, and the secret's safe with me. It's buried underneath plenty of filler. If you're cool with the way this is progressing, I say we get that lower spoiler in place and figure out what we're gonna do about the grill opening.
Let's do it. that, since you adjusted it to fit the wheels, it's wider than the actual piece now. The first thing that bothers me, was definitely these little wings coming out here. I want to cut these little wings off of here and just take it and let the body come straight up to this point.
That's a really nice piece to be cutting up, but you can do whatever. What were you thinking about the grill opening?
Check this out. Super Bowl, right?
Right.
Well, I bought a new TV.
When I explained to Victor that we can incorporate anything into the design of this car, he takes it to heart. And I think he's trying to push the boundaries a bit.
So here's the grill, literally. Check this out. I mean, I seen it and that's where I got it. Check it out. There's the grill right there.
He's walking in the door with a pile of styrofoam. He says he bought a big screen television for the big game on Sunday. And for whatever reason, he's looking at these foam packing parts and it looks like the grill to a supercar to him.
Ian's looking at it like, scratching his head like this dude's out of it.
Starting to get a little bit loose, man. You're throwing everything at this. First the TV, next the kitchen sink.
What do you think?
As Victor's giving me a sales pitch, I'm starting to respond a bit. I mean, yeah, it does have an interesting look. You put them together, it makes like a V shape that could be a grill. You can shape foam really easily. Okay, I think we can work with this. I see what you're saying. Look at this vent you get in here.
I think if we just get this and just curve it a little, so now it's curved, just like everything we got curved. Sure, we got a few straight lines, but I just take the sharpness off, so it's just a little, curve to it all the way around. My job is to give the basic concept and idea. Ian's job is to make it work and make it look good, because some of the stuff I come up with could be, looked at kind of interesting, to say the least.
You're not down with using the TV packing for the sports car?
In here, this is the bottom piece. The screen in here for the radiator. The screen in there for the radiator. That baby's done.
So you've been thinking about this a little while.
I had it in my vision, but since I bought a TV, that was the cheapest TV I ever bought, because now you got a Lambo grill.
Critical factor in how this grill bar is going to work out is the bottom opening of the chin spoiler area. Victor doesn't want to cut apart his Lamborghini stuff. I told him it would be super easy to make a replica of that in fiberglass and attach it to the car. Well, no, we haven't done anything weirder than this yet, but it seems like it's progressing fine. When you brought in the foam, the first thing I was thinking was, well, yeah, we just make a mold on that and we could lay it up in fiberglass or carbon fiber or whatever. But I could also make it out of aluminum to match the rear section.
And metal, that's your specialty, man. You've mastered that art. That's what Ian's specialty is, metal. So I'm glad, instead of playing with all this foam and fiberglass and this stuff, he's finally be able to use his strength in doing his fabrication.
I think the extra effort's gonna be worth it. This is kind of like the jewel on the front of the car. I know I can pull it off, I just gotta make it happen. This concept Victor and I are coming up with, the foam model, is a loose interpretation. My idea, making this out of aluminum, I'm gonna modify the shape just a bit, and that's really gonna set the whole design off. I think this is gonna have to be made out of 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces per side. Always thinking ahead on how we're gonna wrap the entire project together. By building this front grille out of aluminum, it ties in with the rear exhaust fin thing I created, so I think the aluminum will be a design aspect through the entire project. Victor was saying that this ridge here is going to be a keeper, so I'm going to try to mimic that in the aluminum. The idea is this is going to be a hollow part, so I'm tracing it around the foam and starting to form each piece independently. Yeah. So you can see when I cut that line, you got a nice ridge that matches the nose. The biggest challenge in this whole thing is I have to envision where I'm going without a sketch, only a discussion on every aspect of this project. In the end, you need a whole car that matches, so each part has to blend in somehow. These guys taper, but this is a straight shot, so I'm gonna join them right at that bend. So this is gonna be a little bit thicker because there's gonna be a lot of welding trying to keep this thing in shape. I think that this will help. I'm gonna cut 2 6-inch strips and just fold them. This material is kind of thick. It's starting to push the limits on this sheet metal brake, but it's working out. See, that handle's the result of some aggressive use. The main thing here is to make sure all the pieces have the same degree of bend and that they're all fit up symmetrically. 2 bottoms, 2 tops. It isn't really a complicated shape to create, but it's got to look like the foam model, so I'm just using that as a template. I'm literally building the metal panels around this foam structure just so it looks like our model. Even though we're modifying all the parts of this car as we go, what I try to do is make the most refined step towards the end game. So all this metal work, I'm really thinking ahead so that the keeper pieces are really a nice finish. So this is pretty much set up to weld. It'll take a long time to weld this without warping it and then sanding it so it looks seamless. But that's basically the idea. You got these 2 6-inch plates parallel and a nice crown on top. You know, just refined Victor's foam idea a little bit, but there's no waves in it. It'll be perfectly straight. This is a nice little project to take me away from all that sanding. So metalwork is kind of the realm I thrive in, and to do something really, artistic is more like jewelry than just car body fabrication. So it's a nice change of pace. I'm using the TIG welder on this aluminum just because it's really versatile. In these odd shapes I'm welding together, I can make sure everything has got a full penetration weld. That way when I polish it back, it's still strong. The whole idea here is just keeping it light as possible. I didn't put any back on it because I'm gonna chop into here somewhere to fit around the body of the car. And then later I'll just put a couple cross tabs to brace it. Right now I'm just gonna stand off all this stuff until it looks like a perfect finished piece. Finishing process on this metal part is just like bodywork. Using these 3M discs just to rough everything out. After I get the surface knocked down, it's just a series of finer grits to bring this thing out to a polish. It's just block sanding, man. I know it's boring. It's not as exciting as the rest of the stuff, but it counts. All right, so that's pretty much the story. So now all you gotta do is figure out how to put it on the car. Last thing is to fit this into the car body. So there's a number of areas I don't want to modify in the Lamborghini nose, so I'm notching this aluminum back. Little by little, it's gotta fit into place. And I want it to look nice in the end, so I'm making templates, making sure the cuts are symmetrical, so it just slips in tight, no big gaps. The whole thing is this face here is going way too far forward. Part of what the remedy might be is to pie cut it. Came up with this idea to pie cut the V just so it fits in a little bit better. It's kind of risky to do at this point because I'm working right through the old weld joint. There's nothing to support it or really gauge the shape. Another trial and error thing. We'll see if it works out. Okay, that looks like it's doable. There's only this little piece of metal holding the whole thing together, so I got to get that onto the table and weld it secure. Just gonna match these, weld them, and then we can set them in the car and join them. High cut worked out okay. Welded it back together, finished it off. I really want to get this in the car and see how it looks. I changed around a few things from the original flat concept. Joined the center, filled in the whole thing here underneath, welded the underside. In the end, if you want to polish it, that would be the next step, but right now I've maintained that nice defined ridge all the way through. I never built one of these before. Just knew I could weld, and I had a vision. And there it is. Building a grill bar like this is kind of a shot in the dark. You know, I know I got the skills to do stuff, but it's very rewarding to see it finished and in the car. Look at that thing. It's just what the car needs. A couple things I want to finish up before Victor checks it out. This is quite an improvement. One more element that's going to seal the deal. I'm always thinking, you know, everywhere I look, there's potential. From behind, curtain number 3. I found this mesh. I don't know what it is. It's like a paper substance. There was just a box of it at one of these scrap yards, and I bought it. It's like you can see me at certain angles, and when I turn, I disappear. The whole purpose of this mesh is to shroud the mechanical look behind the grill bar. It's also got to look cool, and most importantly, air has to flow through it freely for the radiators. It's pretty space age, huh? It's not metal, it's not foam, it's something in between. Always with that. Need some space. I'm gonna mock up this mesh to complete the package, give it the whole look before I show it to Victor. Giving this mesh a quick shot of black spray paint. In the end, I'll finish this thing off really nice and get the proper fasteners in place, but this is all about the mock-up.
Ian, wow, what a difference. That's words that I can't say on television. This guy made this grill out of aluminum and curved, rounded the edges. He really put a lot of thought in that because the craftsmanship on that grill is just like perfect. That is cool. And actually that finish is pretty cool. What did you put behind it? Is that a screen or what?
It's this weird composite mesh. It's actually about a 1/2 inch thick, but it flows air perfectly. And you can see, you can't see anything behind it.
It hides the radiators, has the flavor, everything's there. Just, I really can't tell till I see that one line across.
The last step in this front end grill opening is the chin spoiler. You know, the bottom dimension. It's changed a bit because of our design. Put some envisioning tape across the front of the car just to come up with our parameters of the grill opening. I think we're gonna use some of the styling from the Lamborghini part. I'm just gonna make my own from scratch. That's kind of what I'm seeing, just to clarify with you. So this gray is basically representing the car body line. It's critical to have like a heavy element on the bottom. You know, that's what grounds the car, so it makes it look super low. Right now, it's all up in the air, so to get this bottom part in place is gonna seal the deal. And again, we're not just sticking found parts on the car, man. We're making everything, so I'm all about that. So it'll look like the other part, but it'll be homemade. Let's do it. One of the benefits about working with fiberglass is that you can flesh out an idea pretty quickly. But Victor and I decided he didn't want this raised center section, and then he didn't want these upright fins on the side. So you can see what you get in the end. It's almost a perfect match. If he doesn't like it, we'll just do another one. Finishing touches are just to paint it gray, make it look like the rest of the car. You know, that's the neutral tone. Fortunately, this fiberglass nose Victor brought in has holes that was the same way that the original car was put together. They just bolt up. Done deal. Yeah, so now you really get that look. The whole thing with this design is it needs that bottom. Otherwise, it just looks like a suspension bridge, you know, it's just 2 legs. That bottom makes the 2 air vents completely apparent. One of the last things to do will be fitting the outside edges of the chin spoiler to the final contour of the fender. Leave an extra space for now, because you never know, something just might change. Just one step at a time. You know, you're looking at the car through these goggles. That's looking good. That, not so much. There's a whole thing going on. Definitely nailed this grill opening. There's a whole world of trouble on top of that car. Can't look like a Sterling. Crazy thing about building these cars is that you get this small glimpse of victory, but then there's like a huge task on the next step. The ugly duckling in the equation is that roof. The big problem here is you got this massive flat panel. It just takes the nice curve of the car and it disappears. So the side profile of the car is dependent on this roof line. You gotta figure it out. I know that the roof was one of Victor's favorite parts. It's what set off this whole car build. So it's gonna be a delicate dance in telling him how much it has to be modified. Radically modified. It's a long journey, but this build is beginning to take shape. We started out with a Porsche chassis and a Sterling roof. Victor loved the way this roof opened, and he wanted to build a whole car around it. So that's what we did. Because we're planning on making a mold of the body in the end, it's allowed us to use whatever parts we want to design the car. Now, we just got a part that doesn't belong. Making a lot of progress on this car, but looking at it front row center, we got a huge issue with this roof contour. Some of the concept cars Victor had shown me pictures of had this wraparound windshield detail, and that's what I'm throwing on the table. Right off the bat, I tell Victor I got this idea that the windshield, could look like a motorcycle visor on a helmet. They go up and down, and it looks space age.
So by putting this round window, like you said, like a windshield of a helmet,
right,
that will match this perfectly.
Oh,
Everything's curved, supercar, wrapped around window. The window comes up to get in and out, man.
Sure.
That would be like off the chart. So can you achieve that? Well, I don't even ask. My question is,
when?
When are you gonna do it?
Well, I think first we'll have to make a paper template. Just like the rest of this car so far, we're going to build off of the Sterling body, create something new. Victor and I discussed the possibility of using another vehicle's windshield. I just don't see anything that looks like spaceship stuff, so we're gonna have to build it ourselves. The thing is, if the windshield is just one piece and it opens with the roof, that's super trick. You just don't see that on the street. So that's the thing. This is the pitch of your windshield at this point, so you see it's not a very big visual.
Let's move it back 6 inches, move that line to there.
Scribe right to the
Okay,
seam.
right there. Okay, now we got a lot more pitch. See, there we are. Now that's more. In the core, it's gonna come up.
Just like the rest of the car, the Sterling is now just a template tool. So I'm laying up cardboard on it because I know it's even and symmetrical, and just seeing what kind of curve it'll offer. With this idea of this curved windshield, a flat rooftop just isn't gonna look right. It's gonna look like somebody sawed the top of the car off, so it's gotta all contour together to complement the nose. Like you're saying, and you got your freaking rise.
Yep, we got our little arc there.
So I'm just gonna make an exact template of this window, and we'll flip it over to that side, so this curve that's coming up around the back will then turn around the exact opposite. I think Victor's main goal with this roof is to do something you just don't see. He uses these words, these big words like iconic, timeless, supercar. His loose perception of reality is easily translated by my forehands. So you want to create like a little dome shape off the roof, like up there, like
That's
that, right?
it. That's what's missing.
I love the idea of this mock-up with the cardboard for the one-piece wraparound windshield. It's exactly what I was thinking. Motorcycle helmet visor. I think it's a keeper. Finally, we get rid of the ugliest part of the car, man. Let's just bury that Sterling. We bury the rest of it. Just don't dig it up again.
Dude, that was my inspiration. The Sterling started the whole project, so that hurts. And the Porsche Sterling, how do you think it feels?
Oh, it's done. think I sold Victor on this idea. There's nothing to it but to do it. I sold Victor on this concept. All I have to do is accomplish it. So this is the template for the windshield. You know, this cool visor-like wraparound deal. The challenge here is getting this template into a good plastic template. It needs to be like a rainbow. The plan here is to get down with my bad self. I got some acrylic sheet. I'm gonna make a better template that should represent this windshield in its three-dimensional grandeur. The reason I'm using acrylic is because it's very representative of how any material that supports itself will curve. The potential to create a glass piece in the end is totally possible by forming this out with acrylic sheet. Like I was saying with the paper template, this acrylic template still needs to be refined. The main thing I was working with here was this surface and the wraparound to create the new roof. You can see here, all these mismatch in spaces is just the simple second time around on the template. All I have to do is just take a tape order and increase it by that much all the way around. But that's the thing. We had to know what the plastic was gonna do on the roof edge before we could build it. I'm really happy with the way this windshield experiment is coming together. The whole thing is getting the roof contour to complement it. That's what's really gonna sell the concept. We know what the windshield's gonna do as far as what the acrylic template will allow. And now to build this top of the roof contour, you know, there's a million ways to go about it. You know, my first thought, maybe find another car roof, or maybe a giant shape that has this dome I can splice off and use. But I've got another idea, and I really wanna try it out. Nothing says supercar like a big bundle of cardboard on the roof. I had 10 gallons of this stuff from another project. What it is, it's a two-part expanding foam. So sort of like you put your catalyst in the body filler and mix it, that's the same process here. It's 50-50 ratio, one part to one part. I just don't really know how much it expands. Like, will this amount become that amount? I don't know. I like experimenting, bottom line. So if I do 2 of these of A and B, that's a gallon. I think 2 gallons. So that's 4 quarts of that. All right, 2 of those. And now I start mixing. The whole thing is if I pour it on the car like this, fully liquid, it's just gonna go through all the cracks. I don't know, I'm just mixing it up. We'll see what happens. I still got 4 gallons left. It just became twice the volume. Here it comes. Get ready. Whoa. Wow, I didn't realize it was gonna be that fast. Wow, that was fast. Oh, we're gonna need more, totally. It's not stressing the barrier. It's growing just perfect. Uh-oh. We're about to experience a breach. It's still growing. The whole thing is, this is a huge challenge. It's the challenge of the lifetime, you know? Just trying to keep it festive, keep it lively, you know, always thinking of nonsense to get you through the moment. For the little 3-inch rise we needed, I think we've substantially overshot our goal. Shoot for the stars and you just right reach the moon. What we have here is a giant lump of expanding foam that is cured on the roof of this sports car. I think it's pretty clear the muffin is cooked. Definitely like one of those things you see coming out of the oven. Totally strong. That's why I use this foam, because it'll be able to be carved back and be a really good base for whatever we do, mold-wise. That's like Christmas morning. We're unwrapping that gift you didn't want. That gift from grandma, you know, the socks or the slippers, that's what we're doing. We're just, how am I gonna work with this? Time to get medieval on this. Like the great sculptors of yore, starting with a giant block of marble, I will create a masterpiece. Crazy thing is I only need about that much of this giant slab, so it's gonna take a while. It's safe to say I overshot the foam element considerably. This is a lot of work cutting it back. It's pretty dusty. The good thing is I got these big air cooler fans from Portacool, and they are moving the air and keeping things fresh. It's kind of like chiseling through rock at this point. You know, you're just chunking away, getting these big shapes broken off. Got to smooth it out and get a little bit closer. That's what I'm going to use the belt sander for. Just eyeballing it. I know as long as I stay bigger than it needs to be, you know, anything goes.
Wow, you got the sterling out of the sterling.
As I'm getting sort of close, it's perfect timing, Victor gets here. I'm always monitoring his reaction. Looks positive so far. I put foam on the roof and then sculpted that back. So this isn't filler, this is a two-part foam. You mix it up and pour it on the top. You know, him just walking in, I'm trying to explain. You know, he doesn't know where I've been. I'm trying to explain where I'm at. You know, see this angle, this complements that, and he's responding.
You know what, stand back and look at the side, because it's actually, check this out, I love the way that comes up and then back down. It gives you like, man, that car's going
fast,
and it's not even moving.
Yeah.
And no more sterling into sterling into sterling.
Nope.
Now it's just, I don't know, what is it?
Concept, baby. Here, check this out. Now you get the look. That's why I got a solid black, so you kind of get the effect of it having a tinted window. That's the thing about making a model. You don't really understand what it's made of in the end. Pulling this protective coating off, you see a nice glossy surface. It looks like a windshield. That sells it. Yeah, see, now it looks like a windshield because it's got that black reflection, right?
Wow, I mean.
That's cool.
I mean, that's supercar.
Yeah.
Everything I wanted. The round windshield, we got the curve on the top, needs a little bit of adjustment.
Yeah, but now looking at it, you know, that's the whole thing. This just being a mock-up with templates, just with the way that the roof comes together, check out this line with the tape. You know, like that, so that this was the roof, and this line was kind of going back into the fender, you know?
Yeah, because it almost looks like there's a flat top on it. That's a good idea, but watch, you stand back there, check this out.
Victor's always talking about when you walk in the door and look at it, where does your eye go? What needs to be improved? He's saying that the windshield in the rear portion could be contoured a little, could be swept down a bit. And the more he's laying it out, it makes perfect sense to me. It does look way more streamlined. Let me spray that top of the window gray. We'll peel back the tape, and then we'll know what we're dealing with. This is exactly why Victor comes in periodically. He's not there for the monotony. He comes in, does a few checks, and then we move forward.
And it gives you more roof. It actually looks like, you know, more structure on that thing.
The modification in the back of this windshield area is just a perfect example of how things flow, according to Victor. One line makes the car look segmented, broken front to back. Another line makes it just follow through down into the rear portion. Yeah, so the whole thing is now on the other side of the car, it makes the roof look like it's just got a little cap on top. And by lowering that window line, it fits. Everything just flows right into the rear corners.
It's them last little details to make these designs like work.
Really happy with the way this roof concept has come together. There's just one more thing I got to accomplish to wrap this thing up. Finished the bodywork on this roof. I'm really happy with this. It completely negates the look of the Sterling, and it complements the nose perfectly. Victor's call with this line revision for the windshield nailed it. Definitely want to add some flavor to this cowl area of the car. I got a couple ideas. I'm just gonna do something and we'll see how it develops. From the start, Victor's coming up with all these crazy concepts, He wants this or that or the other thing, but he doesn't give much solid direction in the beginning stages, so that's my opportunity for artistic license. I got an idea about the way it should look, and I'm just gonna build it out. At least we'll get somewhere. Victor wants to revise it. We're threatening to run away from home. It's a hobo stick with a bag thing. You going somewhere? I guess so. Beat it, kid. In simplest terms, what I've been thinking about is creating like a cowl induction look. On modern cars, air intake is right below the windshield, and I think this would benefit from a styling cue in that vein. What I want is for this windshield angle to be replicated in the vent here. So this comes down, steps up a little, and goes right down. So that's out of line. Take it off. I mean, no mercy here. That's why we're building this model. First things first is to just hack away a large portion of the car that we don't need. What this is doing is twofold. It's shortening the perceived length of the hood, but by sectioning it down, it also makes the car look lower. It makes the windshield dive down. It's aggressive. I mean, that vent shape, that's it. I love that. I just don't know what the client's gonna say. He's a little back and forth on things. I'm into it. This thing took it from this bland kind of hood detail to something representative of a supercar. The thing is, with this just being a mock-up, I want to throw everything I can at it. This is gonna be a vent. Just using this honeycomb mesh, was just laying around the yard. What it's doing is just representing a grill, and that's what's gonna be here in the end, some type of vent. Sprayed it gray just to stand back and check it out. Matches the rest of the tone of what we're building. Looking at it, it kind of needs another element. What this thing needs is something to make it look more faster. It needs fins coming from the center, like that. Just like on the tail end piece. Check this out. Always thinking about how to tie this whole car together. We've got this awesome rear exhaust port look thing. It's got these fins on it. It looks rocket ship inspired, like it's flying or something. So hey, why not put some more fins on the car, I want these fins coming out of that vent I just built. Same idea. This is one of the cutoffs from those things. I'm just gonna transfer that right onto that. Put these things in place and see if we got something. Oh, that's mean, that's aggressive. That is the flavor. The whole thing with this is design. I did it before with this piece. We're holding session here. Can you just compose yourself for 2 more minutes? That's all I ask. As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, same process as I did with these. Cut it, router it, sand it down, put it on the car. Pretty simple. These little cowl fin things, I want to make them out of aluminum. I want everything front to back to have the same stylized aluminum element. Big chunk of aluminum plate, cut it out, finish it, router it, finish it again. These little cowl fin things, you know, I want to make them out of aluminum. I want everything front to back to have the same stylized aluminum element. I got about 5 of these things made, and just as I'm finishing them, Victor's here.
Yo, what's up?
What's happening?
What the heck did you do to the car now?
Well, we were talking about having an event, right? Victor, understandably, doesn't know what's going on. You know, I'm working on these aluminum shapes, explaining what's happening. He's just kind of trying to take it in. Well, it needed something. You know, to me, the hood was just looking too long, so I created this vent around the windshield.
And what's this all about here? I don't think I want cardboard here.
These all questions at this point. You know, I'm trying to describe it. It's like, hold on, let me just put them on a car, show you what's up. So just like with these cardboard templates, you know, I made 5 of them, and we can space them out however you think is appropriate. You know, they're oversized. So, you know, something like this. That way it's like however we fit it out, you know, they look like they're jutting out of the vent, you know, aerodynamic. What do you think?
Yeah, I really like that. That's like, it gives it another dimension. Look at now the car's
jewelry,
like
yeah.
flying without flying. I didn't want a spaceship. I just want a supercar.
You gotta know I'm in the spaceship business, man. Victor really likes this shape that I cut out of the front. He loves the idea of these aluminum fins. He's just got a couple ideas about their final contour. At this point, it's simply trim and fit. You know, we're gonna make the taper on this double-sided instead of like the bull nose flat front, and it's very minimal. Same look, just a refined concept.
Yeah, what a difference too. And by doing that, the air comes in through the, you know, the front of the grill, out to the roof and over. It's like I could see this in a wind tunnel.
All these refinements look really cool. Victor's totally on board with it, you know? Everything's really coming together. The big issue is there's a huge hole in the side of the car. There's nothing there. What's coming up could be the biggest challenge yet. We got a little something. Check it out. Carhartt collar. Oh yes, he's all about it. Check that out. High fashion for dogs. But wait, there's more. You know what that is, don't you? It smells like a fresh, new dog bed. What do you think about that? Oh yeah. Oh wait, you're twice the size you used to be. You like it? Very good.